serious heavy traffic reaching the West Temple exit downtown. Now, some of the state roads like eastbound 201 are looking all right. We do have some heavier traffic on the approach to the I-215 merge, but we are also seeing some heavy delays on the northbound Bangerter Highway just ahead of 4100 South. Andy?
Got some stop and go South 15 right around the 215 interchange in Davis County. Not sure if that's a crash, but that's about all the delay that we have left coming out of Ogden.
Today we'll get up to 94 degrees with a few clouds, 96 tomorrow, 100 on Thursday, 98 Friday. Then we get some more clouds in here and a chance of thunderstorms and cooler temperatures Saturday and Sunday. Right now it's 81 downtown.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
9 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. Our top story this hour, a new resource will be available to Salt Lake County high schoolers next month that will help them build skills around healthy relationships. KSL News Radio's Devin Latore has details.
The Rape Recovery Center is launching the 2026-27 Peer Advocacy Council, which begins on September 24th. Development Director Sana James says it's important to teach young people how to reduce sexual violence in their community. James says that 1 in 3 women and 1 in 6 men in Utah are expected to experience sexual violence at some point in their lifetime.
The program is free of charge, and students who are interested can sign up on their website at raperecoverycenter.org. More students are going back to class today. Mike Hutchings is the principal at West Jordan High School. They're doing some renovations this fall, and he says the school needs to improve as they do.
We're excited about the project. We're embracing the idea that progress oftentimes is uncomfortable, whether it's in education, improving yourself as a student, or in the construction process. And so we're really trying to embrace that, and we're looking forward to the chaos, knowing what the end result's going to be.
Hutchins says it also makes a better learning environment when kids are comfortable. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. President Trump says the U.S. has no planned talks with Iran, but insists the Strait of Hormuz remains open and operating. He says a U.S. blockade remains in full force and effect and asserted that all water mines have been removed. The post comes after a 60-day negotiating period ended this week between the U.S. and Iran, with no clear end to the war in sight. Your money at this moment. The Dow is down 56 points at this hour. We're at 53,403. We're in a warming trend right now. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 9:02. Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
I'm not one to say I told you so, but I switched to Pure Talk over a year ago, and ever since, I've been telling people there's no better wireless company out there. Well, a few months ago, a massive survey was conducted. 123,000 people were asked to rate their wireless carrier in 4 categories: coverage, support, data, and overall value. Well, the results are in. Guess which wireless company was the only wireless company to get 5 stars in every category? Yeah, Pure Talk. 5 stars, every category. To celebrate, Pure Talk is offering the first 3 months of any plan for just $15 a month, including their top-tier unlimited plan. No contract, no commitment, just a very inexpensive way to test drive the only American wireless company with 5 stars in every category. Just dial pound 250, say micro, and Pure Talk's U.S. customer service will take it from there. Again, pound 250 micro. And yes, I told you so.
Utah homeowners, listen up. If your roof is over 15 years old and you've had recent storm damage, now's the time to act. Hey, it's Josh with IWC Roofing, and we've built our reputation on quality, integrity, and taking care of homeowners the right way from start to finish. IWC Roofing, Utah's highest rated roofing company, is now offering $2,500 off your new roof replacement, plus a free upgrade package to maximize your home's protection and value. But that's not all. We're giving away a free roof. Yep, you heard me. One homeowner will receive a brand new roof free. And here's where it gets even better. When you call and mention this radio ad, you'll receive double entries to win. Appointments are filling up fast, and this offer won't last. Call now for your free inspection and estimate. 801-232-5690. That's 801-232-5690. Save $2,500, get upgraded, and you could win a brand new roof. Call IWC Roofing today, 801-232-5690. Restrictions apply. No purchase necessary. See IWCRoofingUtah.com for details and rules.
Let me ask you a question. You have a best friend? How big would it shock you if somebody told you that your best friend just killed somebody?
911, what's your emergency? Someone on the other line said they kidnapped my son, and they're demanding $500,000.
I've asked myself so many times, what in the world happened?
Ransom is available now. Listen at ransompodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
Traffic and weather together are brought to you by UCCU. You deserve to love where you bank. And here's Cormac Bone.
Still have delays left over on I-15, both directions at 7200 South in Midville and the South Interchange, and then again slow northbound I-15 from 4500 South all the way up to 13th South. It's densest as you approach 13th South. A little bit of I-15 slowdown southbound coming in from Davis County left over. They're starting to break up already, but it is slow from Beck Street down past Warm Springs Road. And our heaviest city road is eastbound 2100 north in Lehigh. It's slow all the way from Mountain View corridor over to I-15, seeing very dense delays there. Two Brothers Mattress. Prices don't get lower than the Tempur-Pedic Labor Day sale in all 5 locally owned stores. Visit twobrothersmattress.com. Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
Partly cloudy today, a high of 94, 96 tomorrow, 100 on Thursday. The weekend brings some rain and cooler temperatures. Right now it's 81 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
There are so many questions still this morning surrounding that deadly shooting outside a funeral service in Kearns yesterday. My biggest question, or my first question anyway, is no place sacred? I mean, this happened outside of a church, a meeting house for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and at a funeral, for crying out loud.
I know, and this happened yesterday right after our show ended, or at least sort of during the show.
Towards the end, yeah.
Yeah, we were getting information about it as it was going on. Police haven't said a lot yet. There have been no charges filed yet. There is one individual in custody. We also know that one person has died, 2 more are injured, and at least they were critically injured. We were learning, but we don't know the update of their condition yet. We probably will learn that later today.
So the areas around that church in Kearns were also placed on lockdown. Several schools went on a secure protocol, and then Intermountain Medical Center in Murray went into a secure status out of an abundance of caution, we heard.
Yeah, this morning we did get some information. I found a probable cause statement for one of the people that was arrested. His name is Afui Masayu Manatau, 5-year-old male, or 45-year-old male. And apparently his son was involved, that he may have had a 17-year-old who was involved and who may have been shot, one of the injured people. But this man is, at least in jail, booked on what we call a probable cause statement for murder and felony discharge of a firearm causing serious bodily injury. The murder charge is a first-degree felony, and the felony discharge is also a first-degree felony. So these are serious charges. I'm also looking that this district attorney or whoever filed the probable cause statement, it doesn't say, may have been the police have asked for his detention, and they're saying there's substantial evidence to support the charge, and they are asking that he be held without bail. So they're taking this quite seriously, as you might expect. They also believe that he may have given the gun or provided it to one of the 2 minors who shot the victim. So he's more than just along for the ride.
So I do have some questions. If we have one victim who died and 2 victims who were shot and are critically injured, why are we not having murder and attempted murder?
Well, so that's a great question. Right now, this is a probable cause statement. Police probably filed it in somewhat of a hurry. It's not the charging document. It's just something so that you can book somebody into the jail, and the judge will look at it and go, "Hey, we should hold this guy for a while." So you know what I mean. So yeah. It's not the formal charges. The district attorney's office will sit down and say, "Okay, those are good foundations. Those are what the police think may have been applicable, but they'll decide what actually to charge." Plus, if you think about it, there may have been shots going both ways. We don't know. So if
we're
he's
still early days.
if he's in the car that fires one shot, but he's not in the car that fires the other, he would just be responsible for arguably what happened in his car. It may go much deeper than that. And my guess is, because your question is so good, he'll probably have many more charges by the time it's ultimately filed. And I would also say this. The reason we have a probable cause statement for him and no one else, my guess is because he's the only adult in the room. So he's the one that's been, we know his identity. He's in the Salt Lake County Jail, certificate of probable cause. There may be others that are booked into detention facilities, juvenile detention facilities. We wouldn't know their identities at this point, if that's true. And one of them may be in the hospital.
So one of the several things that was really interesting to me about this story is that people felt like there was enough of a concern that there might be a problem that they actually notified police ahead of time. And it sounds to me, from everything I can tell, is that police were actually there outside of this church, and there was still a shooting, right? Still 3 people injured, 1 killed.
Well,
I guess
and
2
so
injured, 1
the
killed.
police are there. What I think the police may have saved is more people being hurt, and I think that they were able to make a quick stop and grab some individuals. Yeah. There was also some concern at the hospital. They had some sort of a lockdown there too, because and I'm just surmising just based on the age and what happened here, it may have been gang related. I'm not saying it has to have been, but if that's the case, I'm sure that they were telling the hospital, this may not be over yet. There may be some retaliation, and if we say this,
we just don't know.
The 17-year-old's in the hospital, somebody might come looking for him. Yeah. So I'm sure that there were plenty of police presence there, and they were probably there pretty quickly after the shooting took place. But I mean, I don't blame the police for a minute. I just don't think there was much they could do. It'll literally, if you're standing there and a car pulls up and starts shooting, what are you going to do except try to stop everybody and intervene as quickly as possible?
Well, and they were there. I mean, they were there on site. They were there really quickly. And unlike the previous funeral shooting, it didn't take months to arrest somebody.
Yeah. So you said something early on, is nothing sacred. I mean, it's a funeral at a church house.
I know.
I mean, come on. And I think the last one was too. Mm-hmm. And people were walking out of a church service and they get shot. I mean, I worked gangs for years and years in the 90s when we started this whole Salt Lake area gang project. And the animosity and the sort of the violence that some of these young people have in their hearts it overcomes whatever sort of sense of honor or dignity they might have with, hey, we can't do this at or near a church,
sure.
or whether other children close by or something. I mean, when it's time to start shooting, they just do so. And they may have actually felt that there was some cover having been at the church because everybody would have their guard down.
Yeah.
And, that's the cold thing about it.
So this was a funeral for a member of the Tongan community. He was the man who was shot in or right near a gas station last week.
Right.
So that part, everything about it is sad. Yeah. But there was a statement from State Representative Doug Fiafia, who is Tongan. My heart is heavy following the shooting in Kearns. Our Tongan community is hurting. Our families are now facing unimaginable pain. We have to be better. Violence cannot become normal in our homes or communities. My thoughts and prayers are with the victims, their families, and everyone affected by this tragedy, he said.
Yeah, and the National Tongan American Society also extended their love and condolences to those impacted by the shooting, noting that funerals are incredibly significant in Tongan culture and makes this tragedy even more painful.
Yeah.
We'll probably get more information, I would guess, before the show's even over today, because there was so much going on. This probable cause statement was filed at 12 o'clock yesterday.
Do you mean noon or midnight?
It doesn't say. It just says 12 o'clock. So
probably midnight.
Yeah. Well, but it says they were dispatched at 11:25. So he was booked, 30 minutes later. So I don't know.
That seems too quick, actually.
Yeah. Right. So it just
based on how everything was unfolding. Yeah. Anyway, yesterday, but
we're just getting information as it goes along here. But the police, looks like Salt Lake County Sheriff's Office did a very good job jumping on this quickly. They've got somebody in custody. Other people are in critical care. they may end up going from the hospital to the juvenile detention facility based on what I'm reading here. And there will almost certainly be other people charged with this. If it's a homicide that involves 16 or 17 years old, as we know from what we've been talking about, they could be charged as adults.
Yeah.
Well, we want to stay on this for a minute because there are a lot of questions. We want to chat with a criminal law expert about this situation and the growing pervasive nature of violence in our communities. We have an expert who will help us with that, break that down when we come back. Stay with us.
This is Colin Curie from the New Millennium Group. Have you ever had a question for your financial advisor only to find out that the next available appointment is months away? At New Millennium Group, we believe that financial advice should never be limited to once-a-year review meetings. Life happens every single day. Markets change, retirement questions come up, family situations evolve, and when they do, you deserve answers. That's why we pride ourselves at the New Millennium Group on being accessible when our clients need us most. Whether you're wondering about your investments or a major life decision, our team is here to help provide guidance. We're not interested in being the firm you hear from once a year. We want to be your trusted resource throughout your entire retirement journey. If you're looking for a financial team that values relationships, communication, and responsiveness, we'd love to meet you. Give us a call today at 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370, or visit us at utahsfinancialplanner.com.
I'm back to doing what I love and more, thanks to the Good Feet store.
Does it feel like someone's stabbing a knife into your heel? Or does your lower back give you problems as the day goes on? The Good Feet store wants to help you like we helped Ann.
Every time I stood up, pain just shot up my legs. Fortunately, I found the Good Feet store. I went to them after my doctor diagnosed me with plantar fasciitis. And now, thanks to the Good Feet store, I'm 100%.
Wouldn't it be nice to get back to doing what you love, like Patrick did?
I was in constant pain. Somehow my fiance and I found our way into the Good Feet store. Put my foot on the arch support system. I put them in my shoes, my back, my knees, my ankles. Thank you. Thank you, everybody at the Good Feet store. You gave me my active life back.
Learn more or schedule an appointment at goodfeet.com and come in and get your free personalized fitting at the Good Feet store. We have locations in Farmington, Riverton, and Sandy.
Thanks to the Good Feet store.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Ask yourself this question. Is it really worth holding on to that timeshare that you know you need to get rid of? Here's the truth. The average maintenance fee just went up over 17%. That could have been 117%, and there's nothing you can do about it. When you buy a timeshare, you give them a blank check for annual maintenance and assessment fees. I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group. For 15 years, I've helped over 50,000 families cancel their timeshare. Not sell it, not transfer it, cancel it. Did you buy a timeshare because they told you it was a great investment and your maintenance fees would never go up? That's a lie. Are you ready to get rid of your timeshare once and for all? Simply call us and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit that explains all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your timeshare exit kit. 800-822-1490. That's 800-822-1490. 800-822-1490.
Hey Utah, have you heard? Nuclear energy might be coming to our state. Now, before your brain jumps straight into sci-fi movies, let's talk about what nuclear actually does. Nuclear technology helps power our nation's submarines, supports life-saving cancer treatments, and produces reliable electricity for millions of homes. That said, nuclear power also comes with some common misconceptions. Don't worry, we get it. Here's a fun fact. You're exposed to more radiation eating bananas than you are living near a nuclear power plant. And get this, a lifetime supply of nuclear energy fits into a single soda can. Despite what some people believe, nuclear energy is safe, clean, and incredibly efficient. But don't just take my word for it. Energy decisions matter, and Utahns deserve the facts. Learn more about nuclear and what it can mean for you. Visit energy.utah.gov/nuclear.
911, tell me exactly what happened.
My son and his wife and their 2 children haven't responded.
Susan Powell disappeared on a snowy morning in 2009.
And I said, Josh, where are you? You need to get home.
And her husband will never be held accountable.
Your wife is missing, Josh.
Yeah, but
And you want to think about it for a couple of days?
I'd had this overwhelming feeling that he had done something to her already.
I'm Dave Cawley, host of the podcast cold.
Then he starts making phone calls to Susan's phone.
Hello, Susan. We are on our way back.
It's the deepest of deep dives into this tragic tale of abuse.
Where was Josh when Susan disappeared?
I don't know. Of one mother's desperate attempt to escape.
This is me, covering all my bases.
Help prevent it from happening again.
Our focus has and continues to be finding Susan.
Listen and learn by following Cold wherever you get your podcasts.
Inside Sources.
Well, we're continuing our discussion about the funeral shooting in Kearns that left many people shaken. Police believe the incident was isolated, but that doesn't necessarily mean it was going to be easier for the public.
No. Look, this show is heavy on the violence today, but we wanted to focus in on the violence, how it's grown, and what, if anything, we can do about it.
Yeah, so joining us now is retired FBI agent and criminal justice instructor at Utah Valley University, where you're teaching as well, Holly.
I am.
Greg Rogers. Greg, thanks for joining us this morning.
You bet. Good morning.
Good morning.
So, Greg, I was just thinking that 30 years ago, you and I were both wearing different hats than we are today, and you were in law enforcement with the FBI, and I was prosecuting at the Salt Lake District Attorneys, and we were, at the time, trying to get a handle on this new phenomena that was coming into the community, which were the gangs, and I think that, by and large, we did a good job. You know, I was part of that group that put the Salt Lake Area Gang Project together in the early 90s, and you were very helpful with what we were doing. But here we are in 2026, and we're dealing with a situation that may or may not be gang-related. I'm just surmising a little bit. But I wanted to ask you what your take is on the gang situation in our community now, this many years later, because I'll just show my bias. I think we did a pretty good job, you know, trying to put the lid on it, and we didn't get as bad as some of the communities that we were looking at the time, like Seattle and Denver and that. But
right.
It's still pervasive, isn't it? It's still a problem.
Unfortunately, the gangs have really grown, and they've and they've grown in a way that's even a little bit more concerning, in that they have now, what they do is they recruit youth, and they've gotten very adept at getting younger. I'm talking about 12 and 13, very young people into these gangs, because they know that they're not going to get much time when they get. So it's there's a real movement to recruit youth in the Latino and the Polynesian gangs, and they've been very successful at it, and that's very concerning, because that's hard for these young people to recover from when they're getting juvenile time, and that puts, you know, that's tough to get out of that. So it's a very concerning development.
So, Greg, there was an arrest we talked about yesterday, a 16-year-old who was 15 at the time, where he killed an adult woman and a child.
Right.
That doesn't seem to be gang-related, but it is definitely a youth offender. And I'm wondering, do you see a rise in youth violence in general?
Yes, and that has to do, we could spend a whole lot of time talking about that. That has a whole lot to do with social media. That young man, from examining his cell phone, it looks like he was on different media apps, something like 12 to 14 hours a day.
Wow.
Yeah. So you get on those sorts of apps, and you become validated, and you think, you're talking to people who are like-minded, and it's very concerning when you read those chats and hear what other youth are saying about not only being agreeing with you, they're being supportive and thinking you're doing a good thing. I mean, it's very, very concerning.
It was interesting something you said a minute ago, Greg, and it hit me pretty hard, because we were having the conversation in the 90s that we are today, which is, hey, these gang members are recruiting these younger people, and we actually enacted legislation in Utah that we called the Serious Youth Offender Act, so we could get these 16, 17-year-olds. Well, they they stayed ahead of us a little bit, and then they started recruiting younger and younger people. And there's only so much you can do to a 12 or 13-year-old. I mean, the system's just not going to. I don't know. Maybe some people would like to change it, but we're not in a position yet where we're going to start, incarcerating kids that age in the adult system,
right?
Very often. I mean, and it's a real problem.
Yeah, no, and the issue here has a lot to do with how do you deal with those kids. I don't think it's a great idea, and this is my personal opinion, but I mean, you're not, like you said, you're not going to put a 12-year-old in the adult system. They're going to be in the juvenile system. They're only going to be there till they're, maybe 18, 21, something like that. And I know the Utah statutes allow for 25, but there's got to be some sort of way to deal with the families bringing, letting certain people know, there's, people at the schools, counselors, things like that, when they're suspecting that their child's involved in gang activity. There's got to be something we can do to start getting those kids into programs that give them options, basically. Something they can do to get that need they have to have, friends and things to do besides being involved in a gang. So whether that's programs that get them involved in sports or, who knows? I mean, gaming, whatever. But we've got to be better at identifying these very young children, 12 and 13-year-old kids, and getting them involved in something more productive. Because they're just looking for acceptance and friends and to be part of something. And so gangs unfortunately provide that. And we've got to find something else, because as you well know, once they're in, and once they get that criminal history, and once they decide that that's where they're, that's where their sort of friends are going to be and everything else, and that's what makes them feel accepted and makes them feel important, that's a problem.
I know we're short on details for what happened yesterday, but there does seem to be, there's an indication that people were concerned that something might happen. And so they had let police know ahead of time, who it sounds like they were on site or close by. And I saw that the one of the police spokespersons said that it's not that unusual to have somebody call and say, hey, we're a little worried about the situation. They don't necessarily know what they're walking into. Is it relatively common for people to give the police a heads up if they hear rumblings like that? Or do they, from your experience, do they mostly keep it on the down low?
Thankfully, there were some family members, it appears in this case, that called law enforcement. It is unusual. I can assure you that the people that called, if this is gang related, and it is remarkably similar to the case downtown Salt Lake City. This is the second time this year that we've had shootings that appear to be related to the Tongan Crip gang. And so I can assure you who called wasn't a gang member. This was a family member that was concerned and had probably heard something, and that's great. Unfortunately, it's uncommon, but that's great. It was good law enforcement was there. It could have been much worse.
Last question, Greg. We got less than a minute left, but is there honor among thieves here? This happens at a funeral outside of a church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I mean, there's almost nothing that some of these kids aren't willing to breach in terms of what we call our code
social
of ethics.
Norms.
Yeah, no, they don't pay any attention to societal norms or mores. If this is gang related, what this is, it's just showing the superiority of one sect over another. They'll show up at a funeral like that just to, it really is just, it's a power play to say, we're more important than you are. We're stronger than you are. And, you know, we're going to shoot your friends and family. It's people need to understand that gangs don't care about harming innocent people.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks so much for joining us.
That was so helpful.
That was Greg Rogers.
You bet. My pleasure.
Yeah, thank you. Retired FBI agent. And when we come back, we're going to talk about some politics, and an anti-incumbent wave has hit Utah, including our own governor. We'll talk about that when we come back.
9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. Our top story this hour, we now have a probable cause statement about a suspect in the Kern shooting at a funeral yesterday. The court says Afuhia Masiu Manatau has been booked in jail for investigation of murder and felony discharge of a firearm tied to providing a gun to his son that was used in the shooting. We will continue to pass along information as we get it. Draper City has joined a handful of other cities putting minimum stay requirements in place for Airbnb rentals in the city. KSL News Radio's Michelle Rowe has more.
In a 4-to-1 vote, the city council decided on a 2-night minimum, hoping to keep renters away from booking a property just for a 1-night wild party. The decision came after a lot of ongoing conversation, including a public comment period last month. Because of the comments at that meeting and the council wanting to gather more data, they tabled a vote until earlier this month. Some wanted the right to use their property as they choose. Others are opposed to neighboring properties being used as a hotel with strangers coming and going constantly.
The council said that a small number of properties had repeat complaints from residents about those Airbnb properties, and they hope this could help alleviate some of that contention. Our top national story this hour from ABC News, Ukrainian forces are carrying out one of their biggest drone attacks on Russia since the war started. Moscow's mayor says Ukraine launched more than 600 drones at the Russian capital overnight.
Russia launching a wave of attacks hitting Kharkiv, killing at least 10 people. We heard from President Zelensky. He said that they will definitely respond. He called it a brutal attack. So I think it's fair to say that these tit-for-tat attacks that we've been seeing recently, they are looking like they will continue.
ABC's Lama Hassan reporting. Your money at this moment. The Dow is down 122 points at this hour. That's 0.25%. We're at 53,336. Coming up, we'll get back up to 100 this week with rain on the weekend. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 9:32. A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
What if 4 weeks from now, everything in your life could feel different? That is your energy, your weight, even the way your clothes fit. Well, that's what the SOTA Dynamic Diet is built to do. And right now, SOTA has a special end of summer offer, even though it's getting close to the end of summer. You still have time to get involved in this, and just call 866-800-SOTA, S-O-T-A, mention KSL News Radio. SOTA teaches you how to let go of the weight and keep it off for a lifetime. No shots, no pills, no lifetime dependency, just real food that you can buy at your grocery store with expert guidance, nutritionists, and habits that last. SOTA believes that weight loss should be temporary, but results should not be. So instead of putting you on shots and medication, they teach you how to eat. They teach you what to do with your body to get the weight off for good. I lost 30 pounds in 7 weeks, and that was back in April. And here we are months later, and I've been able to keep it off. SOTA is not a quick fix, but it teaches you how to eat for life, and it worked for me. SOTA is, say it with me, state of the art.
Mike Rowe here with a random fact. More than half of the homes that have basements in North America will experience water damage. It's true. Whether it's basement moisture, flooding, or bowing walls, do yourself a favor. Call Groundworks. I spent some time working with these guys. They're the real deal. Their people are trained and certified to waterproof your basement and stabilize your walls. Schedule a free inspection with Groundworks, the foundation and waterproofing experts.
Licensed in all states where work is performed. See website for details.
We wouldn't be celebrating America 250 if it wasn't for a strong foundation set by the framers. Hamilton built Americans' financial foundation on the principle of sound, stable money, a principle later embodied by the gold standard. However, we abandoned that discipline in 1971 and have since seen inflation erode the dollar's value. This is Stephen K. Bannon. What is the foundation of your savings? Birch Gold Group has been helping Americans solidify their savings with gold for the past 15 years. They help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in gold. With an A-plus rating with the Better Business Bureau and countless 5-star reviews, let Birch Gold help build your foundation with gold. To learn more, get your free info kit from Birch Gold by texting SECURE to 989898. That's SECURE to 989898. Take a stand for your financial future. Text SECURE to 989898 right now to receive your free info kit on gold IRAs from Birch Gold Group.
Message and data rates may apply.
Your business isn't just a balance sheet. It's the late nights, the bold bets, the people counting on you to get it right. At UMB Bank, they've stood beside businesses like yours since 1913, not just as a bank, but as a team who understands what's at stake. Because real banking isn't just transactions, it's trust. It's a relationship built to last. Visit UMB.com. UMB.com. Bank deposit products provided by UMB Bank, N.A., member FDIC.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by UCCU. Learn how to save more this summer at UCCU.com. And here's Cormac Bones.
Still a little slow northbound I-15 from 3300 south up to 13th south, but those delays are starting to work their way out, and we do have a crash at the south interchange. This is transitioning from the collector ramp to go eastbound on I-215 south belt. Looks like they're blocking left, maybe a right lane as well there. And so it's very slow on the collector ramp as you pass 90th south all the way up to the south interchange. Otherwise, your city street delays are starting to ease up. Eastbound 2100 north, still a little slow in Lehigh, though, approaching 2300 west. Performance Automotive in Bountiful, endless possibilities with 3 locations: Performance Ford Lincoln, Performance Honda, and Performance Toyota, where excellence is standard. Start your search at performancebountiful.com. Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
Partly cloudy today with a high of 94, 96 tomorrow, back up to 100 on Thursday. But we've got storms moving in this weekend that will drop the temperatures down to around 90 degrees. Right now, it's cloudy and 81 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
There is definitely an anti-incumbent wave that has been sweeping across the nation, and it seems to have hit Utah as well.
Yeah.
New polling kind of shows that.
A little surprised at that, really. But we're talking about some new data you mentioned from the Deseret News and the Hinckley Institute of Politics that found that some of Utah's top political leaders, including people that I would have thought would be very, very popular, Governor Cox, Senator Mike Lee, Senator Curtis, have all seen some pretty significant approval drops.
So I do think it's interesting, and I know that there's a lot of angst right now, I think, among, I would just say, regular voters, regular people, and a lot of it has to do with the economy, I think, right? Because it goes back to it's the economy, stupid. But there's also angst about data centers. There's angst about a war in Iran. But those are, I think that nobody's immune right now.
Yeah, and so we have Brigham Tomko in studio with us, Deseret News political reporter. Thanks for joining us today. You had a little bit of a rocky morning today, dropping off the boy at kindergarten. That had to be tough, but we're going to have you shift gears here and talk about anti-incumbency. What did we learn?
Yes, that was bittersweet this morning, dropping him off at kindergarten, and maybe some similar reactions to this article among some of our elected officials in Utah, where we've actually seen among all of our top statewide elected officials, maybe the ones with the highest name ID in the state, Mike Lee, John Curtis, Governor Spencer Cox, them dip into negative territory, which means that the share of Utah registered voters who disapprove is actually higher than the share that approve of each of them. And, you know, what we saw in the last several months, since January and February, we've had the same pollster asking the same question to Utah voters, is that for Senator Lee, John Curtis, and the state legislature, their approval and disapproval had remained pretty steady until this past month, where it ticked into that negative territory. Governor Cox, on the other hand, has been on a negative trajectory all year that at this point shows him underwater for the first time in Deseret News polling by 8 percentage points. And so that's kind of been more of a trajectory that we've followed.
I've seen, I thought that was a really big drop for the governor when you say he's 10 points down from the point he was in January. Even though he's been on a trajectory kind of going down, this seems to be a big drop because he has traditionally been pretty popular. But I'm interested to know if you were able to pick up on any of the reasons why people are maybe more dissatisfied with the governor than they had been.
So in the past several years of polling Governor Cox's job approval, what we saw was a wave from April 2023 to April 2025 where he lost more than 25 percentage points of support among Utah Democrats.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of like the first wave of falling approval for the governor, and that coincided with him being more explicit in his endorsement of the Republican Party of Donald Trump. But what we're seeing now seems to be a second wave where we're seeing some drop in Republican support and then support among independents tumbling from 45% to 26% approving of his job performance. And so I don't know what story that's telling, but we're seeing a loss of support among those independent voters, even more than we had seen before. And so, like you said, he ended up in August with 41% of Utahns approving of his job performance and 49% disapproving.
Wow.
I'm wondering, Brigham, and I'm sure don't know that the poll necessarily answers this, but just your take because of your expertise here, that the Trump effect, I mean, the Trump has become, even in Utah, he's underwater too. I mean, there are some states where he's sort of holding his head up a little bit, but his approval ratings nationwide and even in Utah are bad. And I'm wondering if he's dragging down his party, if he's dragging down members of his party, so that people are just thinking, Republicans are, because of Trump, are just not doing the job right now.
Yeah, that's absolutely the case. In January, Trump had a positive 5-point margin in his approval rating among all Utah voters, and that has flipped to a 7-point negative margin in August. So that means lots of Republicans have given him a disapproval in response to this poll. And so we see that reflected in John Curtis, Mike Lee, and the state legislature. I think what we see uniquely in the state, or in the case of Governor Cox, dropping further than those other ones, might be some state-specific issues. And so when I talked to Todd Weiler, a prominent Republican state senator who's also the CEO of Sutherland Institute, a conservative think tank, he said if I had to point to one thing, I would point to the data center, just because that was such a huge political upheaval in the state with so much backlash. And then talking with someone else, Michelle Tanner, a conservative city council member in St. George, she said that she thinks in an attempt to disagree better with the left and an attempt to disagree better with the right, maybe Governor Cox has ended up pleasing no one. And so it seems to kind of hemorrhage support from both sides as he progresses.
That's an interesting take. I also was intrigued by Mike Lee's approval rating dropping because he has been pretty consistently, I would just say pretty consistent in the approval ratings, but I'm seeing a drop even among Republicans for the senator.
Yes, exactly. There was a drop among Republicans as well, and these same sources that I cited earlier, they pointed to, yes, this general animus or malaise that's kind of among all American voters regarding the economy, regarding foreign wars. And Michelle Tanner said that the Iran war in particular has seeded division within the GOP, where there's lots of disagreement and intra-party fighting about what should go on in that war. And so maybe that contributes to some of the dissatisfaction with Congress, which in large part has been unable to do anything to check the presidency when it comes to that Iran war. And then Todd Weiler said it could be that Mike Lee's kind of myopic focus or persistence on the Save America Act over the last several months maybe has fatigued some voters.
So the one that surprised me the most was the one we haven't talked about that, and that is Senator Curtis, because he has been willing to, and I thought Governor Cox did for a while too, although he's backtracked a little bit, sort of cross the aisle more and be more willing to work things out and have the conversation. But even his numbers dropped.
You know what's unique about Senator Curtis? He's been in Utah politics for a decade on the federal level, at least. And so you would think that he would be as well known as Senator Lee or Governor Curtis. But according to our polls, and this has been consistent over the past 6 or 7 months, is that his share of Utah voters who say don't know in response to an approval rating question is about double that of Mike Lee or John Mike Lee or Spencer Cox. And so it's about 1/4 of Utah voters say don't know in response to that question. And so I think that means his total approval and total disapproval aren't as reflective of, the whole electorate as maybe some of these other lawmakers. But you're right. He's right in that margin of error with 37% approving, 38% disapproving. And it could be that he just hasn't stuck his neck out or gained the kind of headlines that these other public officials have.
Well, I would say that maybe his team would say he's putting his head down and getting to work, right? He's not show ponying for the cameras. I have one really quick question. What do you think this means for the midterms?
Utah's interesting because, like more and more of the country, our elections are decided in the primaries. But what we've seen historically is that the party in the White House fares very poorly in congressional and gubernatorial races nationwide. And so if we're seeing this in Utah, a deep red state where the Republican Party typically enjoys lots of favorability, I think it may indicate the kind of wave that might come across the country.
All right. Thanks, Brigham. That was Brigham Tomko from the Deseret News, our political reporter. When we come back, thousands and thousands of Utah kids are heading back to the classroom this week, including Holly's own daughter. She started today. And the new school year jitters are real. We'll get some tips on how parents can help their kids adjust to the new school year coming up next on Inside Sources.
What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and if you have a drain that's clogged or backed up, after you've tried the plungers and products, the next step usually involves some kind of drain snake or cabling equipment. You see, sometimes the blockage is far enough down the line that you need special equipment that most homeowners just don't have. That's where the Drains Department at Any Hour Services can help. A drain snake can clear most blockages and get the water flowing again, and clearing blocked drains is what our Drains Department does day in and day out. So if you're a homeowner with a drain line that's clogged or backed up and you'd like one of our drain technicians to come and snake the line for you, it's only $29. Yep, you heard that right. Any Hour Services will snake any drain line with normal access for only $29. Sinks, showers, tubs, toilets, floor drains, laundry drains, even that sewer main line that connects to the city. We'll snake any line for just $29. For help with your drain issues, call Any Hour Services at 801-443-7700. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Sign up for KSL Text Alerts. Get breaking news and traffic updates by texting the word news to 57500. Want access to exclusive contests? Text contest to 57500. Jazz fans, text the word jazz for breaking jazz updates. And Cougar fans, text BYU to 57500 for the latest on the Cougars. Message and data rates may apply.
Ever miss a segment of Inside Sources? You want to rehear a conversation we particularly hashed out and you liked? Subscribe to the Inside Sources podcast. We upload each segment and the full show every weekday afternoon. Just go to kslpodcast.com or follow us wherever you get your podcasts.
This is Utah tax attorney Jordan Wilcox. Don't wait. End your tax nightmare now.
So I needed a tax attorney because of my outstanding balance. It was like $59K. I got the letter from the IRS stating that we could seize your house. And my son lives with me and he's also on the house. I didn't take those threats lightly. As a mom, I'm like, yeah, you're not going to take my kids' stuff. So I did find Jordan Wilcox and I decided to give him a call.
Let us fight the IRS for you.
So the IRS, I owe them $59,000 and my settlement was $560. I actually cried. I felt like the weight of the world came off my shoulders.
This is Utah tax attorney Jordan Wilcox. Let's solve your IRS nightmare. Visit endtaxworry.com. endtaxworry.com.
Get in the zone, AutoZone. John always listens to his truck. So when his brakes start talking, he goes to AutoZone, where a helpful AutoZoner gets him the right parts. If John has time to put them in, he borrows a kit with Loan-A-Tool. And if he doesn't, he gets a free shop referral. No hassles, just help. Everything you need, nothing you don't. Get in the zone, AutoZone. Deposit required for Loan-A-Tool. Restrictions apply.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
ZipRecruiter. The energy, the roar. Moments you'll always remember. Next season, Jaren Jackson Jr. is hunting blocks. Laurie Markkinen is getting buckets. And Ace is just getting started. Don't just watch Jazz basketball. Experience every moment. 2026-27 season tickets are on sale now. Full and half-season packages available. Plus exclusive benefits like arena discounts and player events. Are you in? Join the climb today. UtahJazz.com or call 801-355-DUNK.
All in together now, we can make it better, can we do it? We'll rope it up, cause we know how to jump.
Moving and eating better every day can help make you and your kids healthier. Search We Can online to find out more. A message from the Ad Council, HHS, and NIH's We Can program.
The new Inside Sources.
Back to school. Special coverage on KSL News Radio.
Well, more Utah schools districts are back to school today, including Salt Lake City and Nebo School District. We've had quite a few that actually started, and a few others are partially going back today, including some students at Alpine School District, where your kid's going.
So she started at the new junior high today, and they're having a special 7th grade only half day today so that they can find their way around the school without the bigger kids. But she's so nervous, and her anxiety is giving me anxiety. So I just want to mention, when I left the house at 5 o'clock this morning, she started messaging me, and I'm like, go to sleep. And she's like, I can't. I've been awake all night, Mom.
Yeah.
And she told me multiple times last night, I'm so scared. I'm so scared. I'm so scared. And I'm worried about her.
She'll come home today and say, Mom, that was great.
I
can't
don't
wait to get back.
know.
I felt sorry for Brigham Tomko, too. He comes in, he just dropped off his little boy at kindergarten
Their
this
oldest,
morning.
right?
Oh, my gosh.
Sending your first child to school. I asked if his wife was home crying, and he said probably.
Yeah.
So kindergarten is its own anxiety as well. Well, we have a guest. It's Deseret News' Jason Swenson. He spoke with a child therapist to get some insights about these kinds of nerves, but also say sometimes I think with mine, it's a little bit more than just regular jitters. But I want to find out some of your top tips, Jason. What you got?
Well, if it's any comfort, and I'm sure it is, Holly, the thing one of the main points that I was able to pull from my conversation with Dr. Dee Ray, a woman who is a child therapist and also an academic and author who works primarily with kids and challenges having to do with anxieties and different things. And the one thing that she reassured me is that school jitters, particularly first day of school, first week of school jitters, that's universal. And so if it's some comfort, there's probably not a kid sitting next to your daughter today that isn't feeling their own butterflies at this very, very moment. Obviously, some feel it at different levels than others, but nonetheless, every single kid, even the ones who are pretty excited to be there and who will say being back in school is great, are still dealing with some sort of anxiety and stress.
What kind of advice did we get from her for parents? I mean, what can they do to support the kid other than just drop them off and say, we'll see you this afternoon?
Right. Well, I think primarily just really being aware and available, Greg. The idea that you sort of need to find a sweet spot, recognizing that they're going to be anxious, they're going to have some stress, and that's entirely normal to be expected. And sometimes then the best step for a parent is to take a half a step back and realize, you know what, they're resilient, and give them a few days or a week and they're going to be fine. And at the same time, recognize, no, this is something that's beyond what we would expect for just, the first day of school jitters. And then look for opportunities to really step in and be aware, communicate, ask the sort of questions, let them know you're available, and then find out ways that you can give them some choices to be able to manage these things. So I think it's really just about being aware of these things, recognizing that every child's going to feel some anxiety in some level, and then be prepared to just be accessible. And no one knows your child like you do. And you will know, you know what, this is something that they're going to be able to come out on the other side in a day or a week or a month, or it's something that I'm going to have to pay a little closer attention to.
So, Jason, I start teaching tomorrow at Utah Valley University. I've got a couple of classes that are more than half freshmen. So I am expecting them to come as brand new high school graduates their first semester in college with some angst as well. Did you get any tips for what teachers could do to maybe ease the transition? Even though it's not like elementary school, these are 18-year-olds, but still I expect them to be pretty nervous.
Well, and it's curious that you bring up, what would be these, first day in class freshmen at a university level. Dr. Ray reminded me that when we talk about, first day of school anxiety and returning back to school anxiety, that's not something that ends when a child's in third or fourth grade. They said the same sort of anxiety, an anxiety for a kindergarten student or a first grader is perhaps going to look a little bit different than a high school senior or a first year freshman, but it's an anxiety nonetheless. And I asked Dr. Ray specifically, I said, parents obviously want to be able to assist their children, but I know educators and teachers like yourselves are also doing what they can to be able to make this transition as easy as possible. And Dr. Ray said the first priority for a teacher in any grade or in any course should be finding ways to build some sort of trust with that student. When there's trust, when there's empathy, that usually is able to alleviate a lot of anxieties. She recommended first have, sort of well-articulated structure. And obviously for a first grader, that's going to look a little bit different than a freshman student, but still an expectation they have a structure as to the student has a clear understanding of what the teacher expects from me, the sort of work that I'm going to be doing, what I can expect, to happen in class tomorrow and the next day. Those sort of things just ease a lot of tension because it gets rid of that fear of the unknown. Dr. Ray also suggested that educators look for every opportunity they can to find some chance to engage. And again, that's entirely, determining what's the age appropriate way that you engage. And for a first grader is going to be different than if you're working with high school seniors. But any opportunity that you can to be able to engage, acknowledge, ask the student, oh, how'd that assignment go? Or I noticed that you always seem to wear a purple shirt. That must be your favorite color. Or anything that tells that student, you know what, this teacher is aware of me and it's someone that I can trust. And this is a teacher that wants to help me succeed. That's going to alleviate, I think, a lot of anxiety, particularly students who find themselves in a new circumstance, whether it's a new school like your daughter, a new setting like at the university, or you're surrounded by all these new classmates. So just that sort of structure and realizing, you know what, I'm not being lost here.
Yeah, and I think you just answered the question that I was going to ask, but I wanted to just follow up a little bit. It seems like what you're saying is that schools are aware of this and that they're doing what they can to make the situation better. Also, not just parents, but not just the sort of the counselors at the schools, but the teachers too. Like you just said, trying to get the kids to engage and try to make some sort of friendship with them so that they're not so uncomfortable in their early days at school.
Yeah, and perhaps you remember, Greg, when we spoke a week or so ago, and I did a story about first-year teachers in school. One of their first priorities and the things that they, say, whether they're a math teacher, a science teacher, or an English teacher, is look for any opportunity to sort of build trust from day one with that student, so they know, this is a place where my teacher wants me to succeed, and is someone who's going to try to help me out on that path.
And Jason, weren't those first-year teachers, didn't they have their own jitters about the first day of back to school?
Oh, absolutely. That was the first thing I asked you. I said, is the butterflies you're feeling any different than the butterflies you're feeling now as a first-year teacher, any different than those when you were in second or third grade or even seventh grade? And they said yes. And I suspect, Holly, when you're in front of that class for the first time tomorrow, there's probably going to be some butterflies.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Jason. That was Jason Svensson
Appreciate
with
it.
the Deseret News, helping us again. You know, Holly, you've got you've got the double-edged sword here that Jason just mentioned. You've got a child that went back today, and you're going back tomorrow as a teacher.
Right.
Which one causes you more angst?
My child. My child in junior high.
But you've got huge classes. You went from 1 to 3. It seemed like your classes got bigger.
I'm going to
and
end
more.
up with about 75 students this semester. So I will not be able to memorize their names, right? And there will be days where I'll probably show up late and I have to ask them for grace, right? Based on the traffic, we'll see. But look, it's really fun. I do really enjoy teaching, and I know a lot of teachers who also really enjoy teaching. That's why you get into the profession, and it is very different and yet so much the same to go junior high or high school or college. I think there's so many similarities, right? So I actually am really looking forward to it. I think it's really going to be fun. And because it's not my first semester at this university or with this class, it's going to be even more fun.
And I love teaching. I taught at the community college paralegal school. I taught at the law school, and I've taught at the police academy. And that's an older group, obviously. All of those are adults, but I really enjoyed that every time.
Yeah. Look, in the next hour of Inside Sources, there's a really interesting trial going on back east where a mother is accused of killing her 3 children. She says she was in a state of postpartum psychosis. So we're going to have an in-depth conversation on new moms' health care, especially mental health care, coming up next.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. KSL's top story this hour. We've learned at least one person has been booked into jail in connection to yesterday's shooting outside of a funeral service in Kearns. 45-year-old Afuhia Manatau has been booked on suspicion of murder and one other crime. Police are accusing him of providing his teenage son the gun that was used to shoot at least one person. His son and a third person were shot. One of the 3 victims died. Arrest documents say 2 other people were taken into police custody. A former BYU math professor has been sentenced to 3 years of probation after being charged with sending sexually explicit messages to someone he thought was a teen girl. Stephen McKean pleaded guilty to charges of distributing harmful materials to a minor and 1 count of enticing a minor. Both are Class A misdemeanors. Our top national story this hour from ABC News, another day of testimony in the trial of a Massachusetts mother accused of murdering her 3 kids. Lindsay Clancy's former mother-in-law is testifying today that Lindsay reached out for help with a postpartum mental illness.
Prosecutors appear to be kind of losing ground. We're hearing these text messages between Lindsay Clancy and her former mother-in-law where they're struggling with what to do about these medications, which Clancy's blaming for worsening her symptoms. Some of the messages, I'm not okay, I'm terrified of taking the meds tonight. I was never ever this depressed. It was brought on by the medication. And that's exactly the point that defense lawyers have been hammering at, and prosecutors, for whatever reason, are eliciting it with their questions.
ABC's Peter Haralambous reporting. Your money at this moment. The Dow is off 94 points at this hour. We're at 53,365. Coming up, a warming trend before another round of monsoon moisture. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 10:02.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
I'm back to doing what I love and more, thanks to the Good Feet store.
Do you want to walk, play pickleball, and enjoy other fun activities to stay healthy, but you can't because of bad feet? Hi, this is Mike, and the Good Feet store wants to help.
I just had difficulty walking. I tried them on in the store, and my foot felt so much better.
Do you keep buying new shoes and inserts with little or no relief?
I tried all kinds of shoes. It was the arch supports that made the difference from the Good Feet store.
Don't let bad feet, knees, or back problems get in the way of staying healthy and having fun.
Thanks to the Good Feet store, I'm bowling 3 nights a week.
Get back to doing what you love. At the Good Feet store, we'll personally fit you at high-quality arch supports to maximize your comfort. Stop in the Good Feet store or book your free fitting at goodfeet.com. We have locations in Farmington, Riverton, and Sandy.
Thanks to the Good Feet store.
Picture this. You pull into your driveway
and for the first time in a long time, you love what you see. Beautiful new siding, bright energy-efficient windows, gutters that protect your home year-round, and a deck that makes the backyard feel brand new. Not someday, not after one more year. With RGS Exteriors, the home you've been wanting can start today.
Hi, Tim Brown here, RGS Exteriors. My family has been building and improving homes in Utah for 5 generations, and taking care of homeowners is something we take very serious. With over 1,300 5-star Google reviews, 21 Best of State awards, and our 10-year workmanship warranty, homeowners know they can trust RGS. Over 200,000 families across Utah have trusted RGS Exteriors with their home, and so can you. Schedule your free estimate today at 801-280-3110, 801-280-3110.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. Auto loan rates as low as 4.74% APR. And here's Cormac Bone.
I-15 delays have cleared out. Same with the crash that was near the South Interchange transitioning to go eastbound on I-215 southbound. Also gone, so delays have followed suit. Even the regular slowdowns are starting to ease up. Still slow eastbound 2100 north in Lehigh, approaching 2300 west. Also eastbound Pioneer crossing a little heavier, trying to get onto I-15. The 201 freeway, no major westbound delays, but still a little scattered slowdowns eastbound from 8400 west to 7200 west. I'm Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
Salt Lake City should see a high today of 94, 96 tomorrow, 100 on Thursday. But then clouds move in with another possible round of monsoon moisture, which could bring showers on Saturday and Sunday. Right now, it's 82 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
When we talk about awful crimes like murder, mental health often comes into the conversation. That's definitely the situation going on right now in Massachusetts, where Lindsay Clancy is accused of killing her 3 children.
And we've been following this trial for some time. It's actually ongoing still this week, and it's really honed in on Clancy's postpartum health issues and what we sometimes you call it postpartum depression, but hers is what they're defining as postpartum psychosis,
which is very different. So before we really dive into the mental health care for moms, I want to get an update on the trial itself. So Clancy's mother-in-law, former mother-in-law, testified today that she had reached out for help several times but never got it. ABC's Peter Haralamboost reports.
Prosecutors appear to be kind of losing ground. We're hearing these text messages between Lindsay Clancy and her former mother-in-law where they're struggling with what to do about these medications, which Clancy's blaming for worsening her symptoms. Some of the messages, I'm not okay, I'm terrified of taking the meds tonight. I was never ever this depressed. It was brought on by the medication. And that's exactly the point that defense lawyers have been hammering at, and prosecutors, for whatever reason, are eliciting it with their questions.
I'll tell you, as a former prosecutor and as a current defense attorney, having a person like her former mother-in-law testify for her, and her ex-husband testified for her earlier, those are people that you wouldn't expect necessarily to go to bat for her because of the relationship obviously went south, but they did, and I think that's got to carry some weight with the jury. I mean, if I had an ex-spouse coming in on any kind of a case testifying that my client was a good person or done some things, you'd think, wow, if their ex likes them, that's a good sign.
So look, I need to say a little bit about postpartum psychosis. We're going to talk in our next segment with a therapist, a licensed clinical social worker, but there is a spectrum of postpartum mood disorders. And so they range from baby blues, which is very common, postpartum depression, kind of relatively common, but postpartum psychosis is on the most extreme end. And it doesn't affect very many women, but for those for whom it does, it involves things that are very frightening. It's considered an emergency situation. Lives are in danger when moms are having postpartum psychosis because they may hear voices. They may have ideation that's both suicidal and homicidal, right? And this is the case Like, we're looking right now as the defense is bringing people to the stand, talking about her medical records, talking about the times, many times that Lindsay reached out. So one of the things they're bringing up in this trial is I feel like, this is my interpretation, she did everything right. She was scared. She knew it was bad. She wanted help. She reached out for help. She didn't get the right kind of help. She talked about being numb. She talked about not being herself. She talked about this is worse than it's ever been before. She's a labor and delivery trained nurse. She knows what this is like, right? She knows the warning signs, and she was very worried herself.
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting because that's something the defense is putting forward right now is the defendant's recognition of the problem, seeking help for the problem, doing things that were consistent to what you're describing as postpartum psychosis. And the prosecution, if I were to just jump on the other side of this for a minute, still has 3 dead children. And that's, I was going to say inexcusable, but that's what this whole case is about, is at what level do we excuse that for this psychosis? I mean, we do have, without getting too far into the weeds, laws in Utah and the rest of the country dealing with mental health issues that excuse, not necessarily forgive, but do excuse what would otherwise be criminal conduct. We have the whole insanity defense and things like that, which have been whittled away at because a lot of people think that people take advantage of that. This is something I'm not familiar with in any capacity, and I'm embarrassed because I've got some medical training. I've never heard of postpartum psychosis, let alone how serious it is, but just what I've read about this case in particular and that particular diagnosis is it's obviously very troubling, and it could have some of the things that you're describing, which would be, I don't know, the law might treat them as some sort of legal defense.
There have been other cases of postpartum psychosis that resulted in a child or children's deaths where the mother was found not guilty because of the postpartum psychosis that she was experiencing at the time. But I just want to circle back to Lindsay Clancy's former mother-in-law. So she's also a labor and delivery nurse. They actually worked together. And Susan Clancy, who is Patrick Clancy's mom, she said this about Lindsay. She said, Lindsay's very nurturing, very loving. She was a wonderful mother. She loved her children, all of them, very much. And, one of the things that really struck me is when Lindsay was taken to the hospital, because Lindsay also appears to have tried to take her own life. There were really significant injuries that she experienced herself. When she was first able to talk in the hospital, the first thing she said is, "How are my kids?"
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Right.
Yeah.
Does that's a gut punch, right? So Lindsay's mom has also taken the stand to talk about her daughter. Her daughter asked her, "Please come stay with me. I'm sick. Something's wrong. I can't sleep at night. I started taking the medication my doctor prescribed." She said, "I think it's made things worse. It's scary. I don't want to be alone." Like, she was putting a safety plan into place here.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I'll push back again, because if you're a labor and delivery nurse and you've seen postpartum issues and you recognize that you're having some of those, it would seem that the prosecution might be arguing, well, then get out of the house, put somebody else with the kids, recognize that I shouldn't be alone with my children right now. The same with a drunk driver. Maybe I shouldn't be driving right now. And I know that's a terrible analogy, but you put yourself in a situation where you're saying, I knew there was a problem. I recognize a problem. I kept telling people I need some help, but then you're alone with your kids. So, I mean, I think the state's going to push back with that. I don't know whether jury's coming down. I think this is a close case. And I'm surprised.
I don't think it's close, but go ahead.
And I'm surprised that it didn't get plea bargain. I'm surprised the state didn't come in and say, look, we're probably not going to prevail on all the issues here. Let's give her some sort of a break. But maybe she said, no, it's all or nothing.
I doubt that she said that. But one of the things too is I think right here, I mean, we're not going to solve the case right here today. But I will say, when you have a mom who is reaching out, who is saying, I don't want to be alone, come stay with me. I need to feel like I'm safe around the kids. But it was her husband who left her alone with the kids for close to an hour on the day that the kids died. I mean, Greg, I think she was trying. And it's not just a one-day thing. You don't have a psychotic break in postpartum psychosis and say it's just one day and then all of a sudden your kids are gone. This was weeks of her saying, something's wrong. I need help. I think the medication's making it worse. And then it did.
Yeah, and then the worst possible thing happened. And it does surprise me that she asked about her children, meaning that she may not have appreciated what had happened at that point.
Maybe.
And looking back, she was also seriously hurt. She's in a wheelchair, and I think she's paralyzed from the waist down, so she must have tried to hurt herself.
She did. She did. She had injuries consistent with suicide attempts, including a crushed, I think, trachea, and there was blood on the windowsill. She was found outside. She jumped out a window. It looked like she had slashed her wrists as well. I mean, this was just brutal.
Well, this trial's been going on for some time. The defense is putting on its case now. They seem to be putting on a pretty compelling defense. The prosecution's on its heels a little bit, but they'll be able to put what they call rebuttal evidence on after that. We do want to stay on this for a minute. So after the break, we want to stick with this topic and chat with an expert about postpartum psychosis, plus maternal mental health care in general. We'll have more to come on Inside Sources. Stay with us.
What if you had the most reliable fiber-powered Wi-Fi and the price didn't change for 5 years? Guaranteed. Well, thanks to Xfinity, you don't have to worry about that part of your future now through August 24th. Get their best price on gig Wi-Fi this summer before it disappears. Just $50 a month for 5 years. And get online in minutes with same-day Wi-Fi. You're guaranteed 5 years of super intelligent Wi-Fi that keeps you protected from online threats and finds and fixes issues before you even notice them. No annual contracts or commitments, no hidden fees, and the best equipment included. Plus, get Peacock Premium included for 2 years. Lock in your price and unlock the possibilities. Get it now at Xfinity.com. Xfinity. Imagine that. Restrictions apply. Requires paperless billing and auto pay with stored bank account. Taxes and fees extra. Speeds vary. Use of fiber coaxial cable. Learn more at Xfinity.com/same-day Wi-Fi. Xfinity. Imagine that.
Well, as America celebrates its 250th anniversary, we here at KSL are celebrating the businesses that have helped Utah build a Utah. And the cornerstones of our state today, we're focusing on a Utah County business with a long history of helping Utahns celebrate milestones, including anniversaries and weddings and things like that, and preserve meaningful jewelry and create new heirlooms. Joining us is now in studio is Kim Narupe, fourth-generation owner of Duke's Jewelers in Springville. Kim, thanks for joining us.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here.
We're happy to have you. So I wonder, can you just tell us a little bit about the history of Duke's Jewelers? Fourth generation is pretty impressive.
Yeah, it is. And, my great-grandpa started it just after World War II. So we opened in 1948 in Springville. He was trained as a watchmaker during the war, and so he came back and started that. And my dad trained with him starting at 10 years old. He would come into the store and took it over in 79. So I took it over just a couple years ago, but we've been there since 1948 on Main Street in Springville. We moved locations once, but we've kind of always been in that same little area.
And when buyers go in there, what can they expect to see? Everything?
We carry everything. We do a lot of engagement rings, obviously. That's that's our main business, but we love colored stones, so we have a lot of that, opals, stuff that you can find here in Utah. We love to, provide that as much as we can. But really, I think the difference for us is when you come in, it's very casual. We really love to take care of our customers. We're really kind, and we're going to, sit down and find out exactly what you're looking for and what you like.
So you've kind of grown up around the jewelry business. What do you love about it today?
Oh, the jewelry business is my favorite. And honestly, the thing I like about it the most is that we're just celebrating the best part of the lives of our customers. So one of my favorite things that we have, happened just the other day is a grandmother came in with her daughter and then their grandson, and they had all purchased rings, one from my great-grandpa, one from my dad, and now one from me. And just that longevity and, we've really come to know these people. They're part of our family and our friends, and just really keeping that alive was really the reason I took over in the first place.
Well, Kim, I have some questions about a buying event. So can you
Yes.
stick around? We'll come back and talk about
Yeah,
that
that'd be
after
great.
the break. Thanks.
About 15 minutes.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
John's day is off to a slow start. So he heads to AutoZone, where he can get a battery for under $100. Lonnie, a local AutoZoner, tests his battery for free. Looks like he just needs a charge, and Lonnie does that for free too. In no time at all, John is back on the road. Ready to finish the day strong. Free battery testing and charging at every store. No hassles, just help.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
ZipRecruiter. Any Hour Services can make sure your AC keeps you cool this summer. Whether you need a tune-up, repair, or just a second opinion about replacing it, call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
Do you worry about how much someone drinks? Do you feel neglected or unloved? If you answered yes to any of these questions, you are not alone.
Al-Anon and Alateen can help. Call 1-866-200-0223 or visit alanon.org/help.
911, tell me exactly what happened.
My son and his wife and their 2 children haven't responded.
Susan Powell disappeared on a snowy morning in 2009.
Your wife is missing, Josh.
Yeah, but
And you want to think about it for a couple of days?
The podcast, Cold, has gone deep on these kinds of stories.
I'd had this overwhelming feeling that he had done something to her already.
Clearly, something happened on that couch because he cleaned it.
Find and follow Cold wherever you get your podcasts.
Inside Sources.
Well, let's continue our conversation on maternal health care and how we as a country tend to help our new moms.
I'm going to just say this. We're not great at it in the United States. And in Utah, we are towards the very bottom in maternal mental health. So it's not great. It's, of course, does not justify killing your children. Of course not. But when new moms are struggling and either they reach out for help or they have somebody notice, maybe, are we actually helping them?
Yeah, so let's bring in an expert on postpartum mental health and postpartum psychosis. I'm learning a lot about it myself. We have Sarah Hanchett, LCSW Chief Clinical Officer with Collaborative Care and Evolved MD. Sarah, thanks for joining us this morning.
Absolutely. Happy to be here this morning.
Sarah, first of all, can you just talk to us a little bit about the spectrum of postpartum mood disorders? Because I know they run a gamut.
Yes, there's a huge gamut, and it actually happens so much more frequently than I think we are ever aware of. So really, 20% of women will experience postpartum depression. That's a lot.
It is
a lot. But also one we don't really talk about is 20% of women also will experience postpartum anxiety. And so there's a lot of symptoms that women are experiencing that we don't talk about enough. So I know there are a lot of services available out there. Part of the problem, though, is we have to ask the right questions to help women want to talk about what they are experiencing. I think even though we are speaking more about mental health than we ever have, there is still a stigma around maternal mental health because this is supposed to be such a wonderful time, right? Mm-hmm. We're supposed to be so happy that we have a baby, and we are. And yet there are still mental health concerns that can come into the situation, and we have to have conversations about that.
Sarah, we're obviously talking about this today because of this Lindsay Clancy trial where she's accused of killing her 3 children and is using the defense of postpartum psychosis. And Holly recognized that as a real problem with new mothers. I'd never heard of it myself, but is it such that, and I'm not asking for, I guess, your legal opinion, that people do go to the extent of harming others, including their own children?
Yes. And it's actually one to 2 in about 1,000 women experience postpartum psychosis. This is a real thing. It is a serious thing. that can end with suicide and also infanticide. So a very serious thing. And while it doesn't happen to the degree that depression and anxiety does, it is very serious. And the same way that we discover whether a woman is experiencing depression or anxiety is how we will know if she is having psychosis symptoms. So we have to be able to ask those questions. So if anybody is noticing any changes with a woman or hearing these delusional beliefs, intrusive thoughts, we have to ask additional questions and get that woman help.
So, Sarah, I have previous lifetime experience as being a midwife.
Yeah.
And so I did have conversations with moms about postpartum care, not only the physical part, but the emotional part. And one of the things that I saw is that a lot of moms don't really recognize postpartum depression or anxiety. I think because maybe it looks a little different. They're not always sad.
Yes. And I think what also happens is that the symptoms of postpartum depression overlap with what's already happening. So it's trouble sleeping, right? It's having thoughts that we aren't doing well enough. It is loss of interest in things that we used to have. We can dismiss those because we're so focused on baby. I went through that same thing, Holly, where even as a mental health professional, I didn't recognize the symptoms of depression in myself when I had my first baby. And so this is another reason why we need our PCPs, we need our OBGYNs to ask questions of women and really pay attention to the answers, because it looks and feels the same as everyday life when you have a brand new baby.
Sarah, what do spouses and family members and even close friends, what can they look for to understand these things, to recognize that there's a problem going on? What kind of signs might they expect?
So anything that is out of the ordinary for that person. So it is really helpful to know what was that person like before they gave birth and what has changed after they have given birth, and not be dismissive of anything that is different. I think it can also be challenging as a spouse because, I don't want to knock on dads. Today, I think dads are more involved than they ever have been with a new baby. And so they are also experiencing lack of sleep, and they're having trouble as well as they're balancing having a new baby and a job and different things. And so we do need extended family to also pay attention. We need friends to pay attention to what is different in this family system and ensure that people are going to follow-up appointments with their providers. And even suggesting, have you talked to your doctor about how you are feeling? Have you thought about going to see a therapist? And making those steps more normal can really help a woman, a family, to accept that kind of help.
So I might put you on the spot here.
Okay, I love it.
I want to ask you about systemic changes that you think need to be made in the United States, maybe even Utah specifically, to better support our new families. What needs to happen?
Yeah, you're definitely putting me on the spot, but I love it because this is something that I am passionate about. Obviously, I'm the Chief Clinical Officer for Collaborative Care, which means I believe deeply in having our physical health and our mental health available all in one location. So that when a dad goes to see their doctor and expresses distress, they have mental health available right on site in that same location. So having additional resources available will always be a passion of mine. I think secondarily is there are a lot of requirements of our PCPs and our OBGYNs to provide screenings for families, for moms. And the statistics show even with those responsibilities, 25 to 50% still are not receiving those screenings. And I don't want to fault our providers because they are responsible for so much. Yet the fact remains that screening early and often is how we are going to identify issues early and be able to intervene early.
So when something happens like what we're dealing with here on this Lindsay Clancy trial, Sarah, I mean, and I'm not asking you to play Monday morning quarterback, but what goes wrong? Not necessarily what went wrong in this case, but there was certainly some idea that she was struggling. She was reaching out to people, but then again, she's alone with the children and ultimately kills the children. What broke down?
Yeah, so I don't want to speak to this case specifically and be that Monday morning quarterback or play a lawyer on radio. But I would say, going back to our original point of how are we in our country managing maternal mental health, we need to make those systemic changes so that we are talking about the things that can happen with a woman, with a new mom, up to a year after birth. And so I think that's part of what happens is that we forget it's not just, the pregnancy where we're focused on the woman, she gives birth, and then we're all focused on the baby. We have to be continually focused on the mom through the changes that are happening for that first year of that baby's life. And, with this specific woman, she had 3 children, and I am certain she loved them. And also, that's a lot of changes happening to one person's body. And so we do need to focus in for an entire year on what is happening and ensure that we have a whole spectrum of services available, that it's not alone for that woman to cope with everything or that family system, but let's wrap the family, whether that's, medication that's needed, therapy that is needed, and support.
Thank you, Sarah. That was Sarah Henchett, Chief Clinical Officer of Collaborative Care. Look, I have to say this just as we head into our break. The number one reason for maternal deaths in the first year after the baby is born is mental health. Yeah. That's the number one reason for maternal death. I also want to say that I personally think the United States, Utah included, needs better maternity leave policies, family leave policies, because that also helps wrap that family in the support that they need. So when we come back, we're going to continue to talk about maternal issues, and that includes surrogacy and IVF and the Republican Party.
10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. Our top story this hour, it is now confirmed that a tornado did touch down last Thursday, just north of Dugway in Tooele County. KSL meteorologist Matt Johnson says the path was about a mile long and did do a little bit of damage to some carports, trees, and irrigation systems in the area.
As far as the forecast is concerned over the next couple of days, not calling for any tornadoes, that's for sure. Temperatures will be in the mid-90s and eventually up near triple digits on Thursday. But by Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I got a chance for monsoon thunderstorms.
Matt says today's high in Salt Lake City should hit 94 degrees with a tiny chance for a pop-up shower. Our top national story this hour from ABC News, oil prices are climbing again while talks with Iran are at a stalemate. Former U.S. Ambassador to NATO, Doug Lute, says the U.S. has few options besides escalating or negotiating an end to the war.
Eventually, the president could face an option, could design an option of evacuate, meaning that he accepts something that is far less than fully desirable, but good enough to craft a narrative that the U.S. backs away.
President Trump has now threatened to bomb the country of Oman if they go along with Iran's plan to control the Strait of Hormuz and charge tolls. Your money at this moment, the Dow right now off 82 points. We're at 53,377. Oil up to $85 a barrel. Coming up, we are heating back up this week. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 10:32. Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Hi, I'm Maria Chaleos, and I'd like to tell you about my podcast, the KSL News Daily. Every weekday morning, we'll deliver one story explored in depth, plus the 3 things you need to know before your day begins.
But this is new. This is where we human beings are able to trick AI.
This is news with context from the journalists you trust.
agencies were less than willing to speak with us about this.
Find and follow the KSL News Daily at kslpodcast.com or wherever you listen.
Summer's not over. In fact, it's going to be really hot this weekend, which means you can still have time to get into the summer clothes that you've been wanting to get into all summer and get your energy up, your confidence up, and your weight down by doing the SOTA Dynamic Diet. That's what it helps you do. A degreed nutritionist will help you build a plan around your body, and you can get the weight off in 4 short weeks. And by the way, call 866-800-SOTA and mention this radio station, KSL News Radio, and you'll get those 4 weeks for free. Stop hiding in the back of the photo. Stop spending time when you could be slimming down in the summer and hiding out and not wearing the clothes that you should be wearing right now. SOTA gives you a plan, gives you coaching, gives you accountability to let the weight off and keep it off. No shots, no pills, just a healthy, natural way to lose it and keep it off. Call 866-800-SOTA, mention KSL News Radio, and get 4 weeks free. I hooked up with SOTA. I lost almost 30 pounds, and I've kept it off, and I intend to keep it off because SOTA has been, for me, say it with me, state of the art.
Before a disaster turns your family's world upside down, it's up to you to be ready. Get a kit, make a plan, be informed. Learn how at www.ready.gov. Brought to you by the Federal Emergency Management Agency and the Ad Council.
We are continuing our chat with a true cornerstone of Utah's business community, a place that's been involved in so many cherished memories for Utahns. That's Duke's Jewelers of Springville. We're joined again by fourth-generation owner Kim Narupe. Thanks for joining us in studio again.
Okay, I do have to ask you about the estate buying event, August 25th through 27th. And I'll be honest, I'm thinking about going down there, yes. And I'll tell you why. My parents passed away a couple years ago and left this coin collection that I have no idea what to do with.
Yes.
Do
this
you?
is perfect.
Okay.
I mean, we buy jewelry, we buy gold all year round, but
Right.
that's kind of where my limitations are. So we bring in this company called National Rarities. They're a big company out of the Midwest, and they come in and they buy all the stuff that we can't. So they're doing memorabilia, they're doing coins, silver. Last time we had people bring in sets of silverware that they had gotten from, grandparents that had passed away and that kind of thing. And the one thing when I partnered with them is I wanted to make sure that they took care of our clients.
Right.
It's when I bring a different company in, we got to make sure that we're still upholding our standards. So we've really enjoyed working with them. They give a really good price for what, and it's also no obligation. So you bring your stuff in, they'll tell you about it. You decide, hey, I'm not interested in selling, but I just wanted to know more about it. That's great too. That's totally what they're willing to do. But yes, coins would be a fantastic thing to bring in.
But other things as well
Yeah.
that you're purchasing, like memorabilia, like my dad's old watch, that type of
sports
thing.
memorabilia. People will bring in like luxury bags.
Mm-hmm.
We had some last time. Coins, jewelry, obviously, silverware, tea sets, that kind of thing. So just anything like that. You could bring some. We've had furniture, so
Oh, wow.
Just anything that has a vintage feel. You never know; they may be interested. It's worth checking out for sure.
Do you think people underestimate or overestimate the value of things that maybe have been sitting around for a while?
I think it depends, obviously, but I think most of the time underestimate.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, in our next break, we're going to go more in depth on the upcoming estate jewelry showcase and discuss what kinds of jewelry people can expect to find coming up in about 15 minutes.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. You deserve to love where you bank. And back over to you, Cormac.
We don't have any delays on all our major freeways. I-15 running smooth between Ogden and Provo, but we do have an accident eastbound I-80 just before you get to the US 40 turnoff. They're in that right shoulder, so again, no slowdowns behind them, but do be careful as you leave Kimball Junction and turn down toward the US 40 junction. Otherwise, you got regular delays in the usual places in South Ogden. Southbound Highway 89 approaching the mouth of Lieber Canyon, a little bit slow. I'm Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
We'll get a high today of 94. We could get up to 100 on Thursday. Then we start to cool down for the weekend with some more chances of rain Saturday and Sunday. Right now, it's 84 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
I saw an interesting and annoying headline in the Utah News Dispatcher of the weekend that caused me to ask myself, what are we doing Here's the headline. More GOP party platforms include anti-IVF language. Is surrogacy next? And look, the Republican Party for a long time has said it's the family party. It's the party of family values. So do they support families or not?
As the Democrat in the room, I thought it was equally interesting and maybe concerning. I wasn't sure what the agenda was. I mean, certainly we talk about pro-choice, pro-life as an issue that divides between the Republicans and Democrats, but I'd never considered this as something that would be a campaign issue.
Well, IVF is considered by some to not be pro-life enough because it has to do with collecting eggs, fertilizing them, and then maybe freezing them. Well, what happens if you don't end up turning all those eggs into babies, right? That's part of the conversation around IVF. And then the surrogacy one was kind of a new one, although I would say news has also been coming out about a surrogate who just delivered a baby in Texas, but she, the baby that she was carrying had hypoplastic left heart, which is a very, very serious heart condition. It used to be 100% fatal. Now babies can survive with appropriate care waiting for a transplant. But the legal parents wanted her to get an abortion and end the pregnancy. And she said, no, I won't do it. So now we have that in the news as well.
So let me ask you a question, just to make sure everybody's on the same page. Could you just define and help us understand what IVF means and what surrogacy means?
IVF is in vitro fertilization, which means that you take a sperm and an egg and they are joined together in a lab. And then you have embryos that grow from that. And one of the things that I know from my own daughter who's doing IVF right now is that each time something happens, you get a smaller and smaller percentage of something that is successful. So, for example, in my daughter's case, she just had 41 eggs harvested. That sounds like a lot.
Right.
She only was able to have a handful be successfully fertilized, and of those, only a few actually are maturing appropriately. So it's in vitro. We used to call it, in fact, when it very first happened, we called it test tube or test tube babies.
Okay,
and I
right.
think the oldest one is now in her 40s, the first baby born via in vitro fertilization. Surrogacy is when someone carries the baby in their body for somebody else. Now, you can have a surrogacy where there's no genetic relationship between the mother who's carrying the baby and the baby's genetics. So maybe IVF, and then that resulting embryo is placed inside the surrogate. Or sometimes you will see a surrogate who shares genetic material with the baby, although I'd say that's less common.
Okay, so these seem like great family value issues.
They do, don't they?
So what would it be in terms of the GOP platform to make them claim and have some of their candidates say that they are in vitro fertilization? I don't understand the logic of that.
So what they're claiming is because IVF can involve the discarding of some embryos, that's like abortion.
Oh,
so
I
it's
see.
not pro-life enough. And in fact, in Texas, the Texas Republican Party adopted language this year that opposes any kind of public funding for IVF. And we had that conversation in the Utah legislature, and we had several legislators, including Representative Candice Perucci, who stood up and said, I wouldn't have my family if it weren't for IVF. So,
And you're a fan. You're a proponent.
I think any way that we can create families, I'm a fan of, right?
Okay.
So the Texas Republican Party said, we oppose public funding for IVF. We think there needs to be more regulation on the assisted reproduction industry as a whole. It says that they do not support surrogacy, especially surrogacy involving foreign nationals. They support prohibiting third-party egg and sperm donations. So, again, I have a sister who carried a baby who they had to find a donor to be able to fertilize an egg, and she was the one that gestated the baby, right? But what Texas is saying, the GOP is saying, well, we don't want we don't want a sperm bank, we don't want an egg bank, we want to prohibit all of that
because of I don't understand that logic either.
So again, I think part of it comes from, well, this is a devaluing of human life.
Oh.
This is, we're supposed to support policies that promote the welfare of children and protect biological parents. Well, guess what? I was only able to bear a few children, right? And then I had a history of many miscarriages. Our family, we decided that instead of assisted reproduction, we were going to go for adoption. But I think that the option should be available. We've got the technology.
I just don't. I think the GOP is shooting itself in the foot with some of these. You know what I mean? I don't know that's going to play well with the populace. I just don't think that people will look at that and go, hey, wait a minute. You know, I've considered that. I have a friend that have benefited from that, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
And so I don't know that it's a big winning issue for voters.
So I'm gonna go out on a limb here with Holly's hot takes. I think it is wrong and misguided for a Republican Party who values itself as the party of family values to shoot down anything that promotes families. So there's somebody at the Heritage Foundation who calls it baby selling, right? It's like, no, that's not what this is. In fact, Utah's first lady, and she's been open about this, she was a surrogate.
Oh, wow.
She carried a baby for her sister-in-law. Right? They've been open about that relationship. So I think when you start to see a movement, and I've seen it in Utah too, with several of Utah's county parties at least, saying we want to make it known that we are not happy with in vitro fertilization. And I'll just give you an example. I talked with somebody while we were still trying to have babies, so this would have been maybe 30 years ago, and they felt like it was immoral, that it was somehow committing like an affair to have assisted reproduction.
Wow.
I'm like, no, it's not. It's like adoption 9 months early.
Yeah, seriously, I don't get it at all.
Right?
Anyway, yeah, it's more and more party platforms are adopting this. Apparently, states around the country are starting to make this part of a campaign issue.
It's a weird flux to me. It really, really is, right? So it's. I don't know. I mean, I understand there's a lot of ethical concerns that people could rightly bring up if you're talking about some of the genetic manipulation that can happen. But this is assisted reproduction, which I think is a miracle. And I'm just really sad that there are Republican Party platforms that are like, yeah, no.
Yeah, interesting. Hey, well, when we come back, the answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind, and it's now confirmed that a tornado warning in Tooele County that we saw last week was good. It was for good reason. There was a tornado. We learned that a EF1 twister, I guess that's a bad one, touched down after all. More on that, plus an update on our wildfire situation when we come back.
Want to rep the bright side? We're giving you a chance to win a limited edition KSL Brightside t-shirt. To enter, visit ksl.com/win. We'll have you subscribe to KSL Brightside on YouTube and leave a comment on your favorite video. You could be one of the lucky winners to sport this exclusive Brightside gear. Tune in for a smart take on life, current events, and everything important to you and your family with a dose of fun. Join Ethan Millard and Alex Curie every weekday from 1 till 3 p.m. on KSL News Radio and streaming live on YouTube from noon till 1 p.m.
Well, since 1948, Duke's Jewelers have been helping build relationships, celebrate special moments, and create new memories for Utahns all over. They're a true cornerstone of Springville, Utah County, and the state of Utah as a whole. And we're joined again in studio by Kim Narupe, fourth-generation owner of Duke's Jewelers. Thanks for sticking around with us.
So, Kim, I wanted to ask you some questions about this estate jewelry showcase, because when I think of that, I think of like my grandma, and I'm in my 60s, so she would have had jewelry from, I don't know, the 1930s, maybe 1940s. Maybe not really my style or my daughter's style.
Yeah.
What can people expect if they go down to something like this?
The estate jewelry sale is my favorite event that we do during the year. We curate it all year, and we're getting stuff from Georgian times. We're getting stuff from Art Deco. We have up to like 200 to 300 years kind of a range. So to be considered vintage now, it only has to be 20 years old.
Oh, wow.
So we do have some modern pieces as well. But yeah, just a very large range. If you're interested in a certain time period, Art Deco is going to be very architectural. We've got the 1950s where it's, a little more whimsical. But it's just fun to look at. I mean, trying stuff on, seeing what your personal style is, old jewelry is really, really fun.
That is fun.
Remind our listeners where you're located.
We're in Springville. We're just on Main Street at 220 South. So right by Central Bank, if you're familiar with that area.
Yeah. Okay. So we've got a couple of events. We talked about the estate buying event, August 25th through 27th, and the estate jewelry showcase, September 11th and 12th.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then your store's open all the time.
Yes, we're open Monday through Friday, 10 to 6, and Saturday, 10 to 3.
Are these events that you do annually?
We do both of these. The estate buying event we do twice a year, and then the estate sale, the showcase, we do once a year.
You're just a lot more than a jewelry store, it sounds
We
like.
are. Jewelry is really, really fun, and we just like to bring in all different events that can showcase that. So yeah.
What if I just want to come and look?
You're always welcome to come look. That's our favorite part. And we've been talking a lot about estate. We've been talking a lot about that. But one of the biggest things, that we do is reimagining pieces that have come from other people. So you inherit something from a grandma. It's not really your style, but you want to wear it. It's something that reminds you of her. So that's my favorite thing that we do. Come in, sit with our designers. We'll walk you through that process and see if that's something that would be interesting as well.
All right. Thanks
All
so
right,
much
Kim,
for joining
thanks
us.
so much for joining us.
Thank you
Good
so
luck.
much.
I will see you.
Yes,
in a couple
I'm
weeks.
so excited.
I'll be down
Please
there.
come by.
Yep,
Yes.
I'll be there. Thanks.
And our listeners can get more information by going to the website. It's Dukes with an S, jewelers.com.
What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and if you have a drain that's clogged or backed up, after you've tried the plungers and products, the next step usually involves some kind of drain snake or cabling equipment. You see, sometimes the blockage is far enough down the line that you need special equipment that most homeowners just don't have. That's where the Drains Department at Any Hour Services can help. A drain snake can clear most blockages and get the water flowing again, and clearing blocked drains is what our Drains Department does day in and day out. So if you're a homeowner with a drain line that's clogged or backed up and you'd like one of our drain technicians to come and snake the line for you, it's only $29. Yep, you heard that right. Any Hour Services will snake any drain line with normal access for only $29. Sinks, showers, tubs, toilets, floor drains, laundry drains, even that sewer main line that connects to the city. We'll snake any line for just $29. For help with your drain issues, call Any Hour Services at 801-443-7700. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Leon was about to leave the military.
My biggest concern was, what am I going to do next?
He found out about My Computer Career and their military transition program.
The Cyber Warrior program takes you from not knowing anything about a computer at all to being a subject matter expert.
How long is that going to take?
In the span of 4 months, I was able to get 4 different certifications.
4 months? Leon's advice?
Highly recommended.
Become a certified cyber warrior in just months at mycomputercareer.edu. This is one student's experience. Individual results vary. VA education benefits available to those who qualify.
I have a dare for you. After you use your old mop and bucket, put on your whitest socks and walk across the floor. Now look down. What's that gray stuff on your socks? I used to have that too, until I switched to Swiffer Power Mop. Swiffer Power Mop breaks down and locks away tough messes. Take the dare. Try Swiffer Power Mop. White sock approved.
The smarter way to clean your floors. It's time to make the swap. Swiffer Power Mop.
And expanded Inside Sources.
Well, blown away indeed. That was apparently Carrie Underwood, who didn't blow me away. But anyway, that's a beautiful song. And remember that tornado warning we heard about for Tooele County last week? Well, it turns out that the storm that generated that warning did actually spur a tornado.
It wasn't gigantic. It was an F1, EF1. That's pretty mild, but it did cause some property damage in Skull Valley.
Yeah, so a tornado that hit Tooele passed through Tooele County, and it caused some damage down there. It wasn't just kind of hit and miss thing, but we are getting some reports of what the damage really was down there.
So it's to me, this is a little bit of a fun story, right? Because you don't typically think of getting tornadoes here. In fact, when I think about tornadoes in Utah, what I think about is the one that hit late 90s, maybe 99, where there was one death, and it was just about a block from here.
Yeah, this one was in the sticks a little bit. It was out there where, had you not known there was a tornado and you drove by a week later, you may not have known that a tornado came. It wasn't like there was a whole bunch of carnage. I'm sure there was, but you wouldn't have known it.
So I grew up in the military. My dad moved all over, and we lived several places, including in Tornado Alley in the Midwest. And I remember, I must have been around 9 or 10, and there was a tornado watch and then a warning, and my mom made us all go to the basement away from windows, but then she went up to watch out the window to see what happened. And the tornado, we lived in a little cul-de-sac. The tornado touched down in the neighbor's yard straight across from us, jumped our house, and then hit the neighbors behind us. And I think sometimes it's easy for us who don't see them often in Utah to say, oh, well, it's no big deal. Those winds, they can be a really big deal.
Well, so yeah, this one struck down near Skull Valley Road on the Lincoln Highway, about 3 miles northeast of Dugway, shortly after 5:40 p.m. on Monday. The National Weather Service reported it, and I guess we heard about it a little bit beforehand, but the National Weather Service's office in Salt Lake City said that it's the first one they've had in 15 years, first tornado warning they've had in 15 years. It lasted about 2 minutes on the ground, covered about a 300-yard swath. A good thing there were no homes in that area. And it measured just under a mile. It was flying.
Yeah, it is. So I want to transition from just a regular tornado to a fire-nado. So we're going to shift from wind to fires.
Was there a Sharknado or a...
Yes, with okay. Governor Herbert, Gary Herbert. So I never even saw the whole thing. Yeah. Just the one where he's like sitting in his office and there's a shark flying in through the window. That was actually kind of funny.
There you go. Yeah. Okay, so tell us about that one.
Well, fire-nados, as I understand it, there's enough weather created sometimes by these fires that it causes its own wind and then it starts to spin. And it's just what it sounds like. It's a tornado made out of flames.
Yeah, I've seen and heard those. And we've seen a lot of these fires, especially the wildfires, that generate so much heat and so much wind that they create their own meteorological event. That's right. I mean, they actually create some weather for you.
Yeah.
And even where you've got a cloud flume and things like that, it's really interesting. I haven't seen a tornado except the one that was here, and I was a few blocks away, the one that hit across the street here. I remember that because it was a weekday that I was practicing law that day, and we kept hearing it was coming, and then all of a sudden, there it was.
Yes.
That one caused
and the
a mess.
sky changes color in a really weird way, right, when the tornadoes come in. But I'm looking at a KPCW story. They cover like Park City, Heber Valley, and they're talking about the Rocky Canyon fire and just about a fire-nado that they had there. And one of the firefighters just said, look, we had this fire coming. We thought, maybe this is going to slow down. And all of a sudden, it was a fire-nado just like that. And he said, there's nothing we could do.
And you look at these fire-nados or these tornadoes or whatnot, and you think, boy, those are significant. But then my son and I were biking down in Moab, and a little dust devil came, and we were watching it come closer and closer and closer to us. And it finally came by very close to us. And it was blasting. It was like being in a sandblaster. I mean, it was for something that you just see when you're driving and think it's kind of cute. There was a lot of weather behind that. There was a lot of wind. If we were riding our bikes, we would have been on the ground.
That's what I'm saying is sometimes we underestimate how strong these winds can be. So I just wanted to give an update on the numbers right now. Things have slowed down a little bit. We know the rain gave Utah firefighters a little bit of a break. But so far in 2026, we've had 877 total fires in Utah. We've burned 537,928 acres, which we're about 90,000 acres shy of the all-time record. We've had 434 were human-caused.
And we have learned that these rains that we've had recently, and they've been really hit and miss. I mean, this morning was a perfect example. I mean, I drove in and out of probably 2 or 3 rainstorms on my way just to work this morning.
Today?
Yeah, and some of them were completely dry, and some were soaking wet. So it wasn't like it was just passing through.
Oh, interesting.
And it was interesting, but the rains have made a huge difference. I think they've helped these firefighters, these poor firefighters who were looking for anything. But I looked at the forecast for the weekend, and I think we've got 100 degrees in the forecast. I think maybe Thursday or Friday. But
I know, it's so sad.
I mean, if there are wildfires, be careful, people. We've had enough wildfires. Let's stop at 501 whatever.
38,000 acres.
Right.
Yeah, no, we didn't have any rain today or yesterday down where I live in Utah County, although over the weekend we had some cooler weather with some rain. It was cool enough. I think the highs were maybe really low 80s. And my husband, I think ever the optimist and hopeful, said, is the cooler weather going to continue? Should we start making soups? I'm like, no. Hot weather's coming back.
Well, as I recall, just in my history of living in Utah, this is actually the time of year when we see the most wildfires.
I know.
Because we've had all summer for things to dry out, and it's still hot. It's the whole hot August nights. I mean, we're dealing with 90 and 100-degree temperatures and winds, and people are still out recreating and causing.
And I remember
fires.
in September's, like many Septembers, it's very hot in September also. Look, I want to say this just right as we come to the end of this hour, but Fox 13 had a story about hunters, and the bow hunt season started, I think it was on the 15th, on Sunday, but hunters have gone into wildfire areas. It's like, no. You can't do that. You've got to check where the closures are before you head into the mountains, because there are areas that are restricted for hunters this year.
Yeah, and get in
because of the fire.
Right. And, of course, if you're in a fire zone, you're not going to get any animals anyway. They've already bailed out of there. But, boy, and if you think about what's happened with our own firefighters, people that are trained and know what they're doing, they've been caught in some fires. So if you're 100, you get into that area. I mean, like I said, I was supposed to do a race down in Richfield last weekend. They shut it down because they didn't want us bicycling on the roads near the fires.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Okay, well, in the next hour of Inside Sources, we're going to go back to politics, and the attacks on vote by mail continue. States are battening down the hatches, speaking of wind, in preparation for the midterms, hoping to withstand continued pressure from the Trump administration, which, by the way, the president himself just voted by mail in Florida's primary. Stay with us.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Cameron Elliott. KSL's top story this hour: police have made an arrest in connection to the deadly shooting that took place outside of a funeral service at a church in Kearns yesterday. KSL News Radio's Adam Small has more.
We're learning police have arrested 45-year-old Afuhia Manatau and booked him into jail on suspicion of murder and felony discharge of a firearm. The newly released probable cause statement from police says Manatau was arrested when police had to, as they describe it, box in a vehicle they say was trying to leave the scene yesterday, and they say Manatau's 17-year-old son was in that car and was one of the victims who was shot. Police say witnesses told them Manatau's son was fighting someone before this all went down, and that he allegedly gave his son the gun, which investigators say the son used to shoot the person he was fighting. Documents also say 2 other people were taken into police custody, though we still don't know yet if they were booked into jail officially. We will bring you more details as we learn more. Adam Small, KSL News Radio.
In other local news, many of Utah's lawmakers and congressional delegates are seeing big drops in their approval ratings. The Deseret News reports Utah Governor Spencer Cox and Senator Mike Lee now have seen their approval ratings go from overall positive to negative since the turn of the new year. Senator John Curtis's approval rating has gone from comfortably positive to near neutral. A majority of Utah voters also now disapprove of President Trump and the Utah legislators' performance. One expert says it shows many voters in the state are frustrated and likely not with just one particular issue. Taking a look at your money at this moment, we have got red across the board. The Dow Jones is down 86 points. That's 0.16%. The S&P 500 is down 39 points. That is 0.5%. And the NASDAQ is down 278 points. That's a little over 1%. Coming up, we've got one more hot day ahead of us. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 11:02.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
Lanny went to college and racked up huge debt.
A little bit over $100,000.
For a degree he couldn't use, now what?
I had a friend that went to my computer career.
They even helped him get hired immediately after graduation.
One of the things I love about IT is that you can work from anywhere you want.
You could become an IT pro pro in just months, including cybersecurity and the basics of AI with zero experience at mycomputercareer.edu. My Computer Career, an elite CompTIA certification partner.
It worked for me, and I know it can work for you.
This is one student's experience. Individual results vary.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance engineer at a beverage manufacturing plant, he starts his day knowing every line is ready to run because Grainger delivers the industrial-grade products he needs to keep mixers, conveyors, and packaging equipment moving. With Grainger's vast selection of bearings, belts, and motors, he keeps operations running smoothly, so nothing grinds to a halt. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hey, honey, I was thinking about updating the house a little.
A little?
You know, new siding, new windows, gutters that actually work, maybe even a new deck.
Wait, seriously?
Yeah, I called RGS Exteriors.
Well, that's a good decision.
When it comes to upgrading your home's exterior, the right choice is easy. RGS Exteriors specializes in siding, windows, gutters, and decking that transform the look and protection of your home.
Hi, Tim Brown, RGS Exteriors. My family has been building and improving homes in Utah for 5 generations, and taking care of homeowners is something we take very serious. With over 1,300 5-star Google reviews, 21 Best of State awards, and our 10-year workmanship warranty, homeowners know they can trust RGS. Over 200,000 families across Utah have trusted RGS Exteriors with their home, and so can you. Schedule your free estimate today at 801-280-3110, 801-280-3110.
Higher taxes, soaring inflation, record low interest rates, and the skyrocketing cost of healthcare. The list goes on. Retiring successfully today is a lot more complicated than ever before. Learn how you could tackle the biggest challenges that you'll face in retirement today. Don't miss a special edition of Retirement Solutions Radio. It's this Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock, right here on KSL, News Radio 1027.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. You deserve to love where you bank. Here's Cormac Bone.
I-15 looking clean and clear between Ogden and Provo. Really all our roadways seeing just a normal midday commute. Regular delays on the 201 freeway in Magna, light in both directions between 8400 West and 7200 West. And South Ogden, it's Highway 89 between Harrison Boulevard and the mouth of Weber Canyon with the light and scattered delays. While you're planning your day, plan for comfort too with the Good Feet store. Find the location nearest you at goodfeet.com. Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
Today, the high is going to hit 94, and it's only going to get hotter with one more 100-degree day on Thursday. Temperatures are going to dive next week, though, as we hit a high of 88 by next Monday with a 10% chance of rain. Right now, though, it's 86 degrees and mostly cloudy in downtown Salt Lake City. I'm Cameron Elliott from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
It sounds so serious.
Politics.
Okay for me, but not for thee. That's what I'm getting this morning. The Trump administration continues its push against mail-in voting. The president, however, is still voting by mail. The White House is defending the move, saying the Save America Act has exceptions in place for Americans to vote by mail due to illness, disability, military, or travel. I'm not convinced.
And I don't know which of those boxes he checks.
I know, right?
But anyway, it's been a really personal issue for the president, and I've been listening to them play sound bites of he's saying how bad it is and how evil it is, and then he does it. Well, that's just fine. You know, it makes sense. Everybody thinks mail-in voting is good. I think most people that have done it, but the Supreme Court has actually pushed back on his executive order, which tried to limit mail-in voting, but the administration still continues to, let's face it, sow some doubt and fear and confusion in terms of voting by mail.
And in the meantime, we just had our primary elections, and that was in June, the end of June. Do you want to guess how many people used their mail-in ballot to vote?
How many?
Nearly 95%.
Yeah. So what do you do when you cancel that?
Nearly 95%. So also what we're seeing is that states are preparing. It's not just blue states, it's all states. They're preparing for potential chaos at the polls come November. And in fact, I saw yesterday that the administration has said there's going to be at least 1,000 National Guard members deployed to be poll watchers. I'm suspecting that they will send them into blue states largely. But even in the state of Utah, right, we have the DOJ who is seeking access to private information that they can put in one centralized database. And they have done this across the nation. Right now, they've had multiple lawsuits that have been decided. They are 0 for 23. 0.
Yeah, I mean, please tell me we're not going to have National Guard troops at our polling locations.
I
this
suspect
year.
not in Utah, but we will in other states. We will. So in Washington state, the attorney general there said, we're not talking about hypothetical situations. The president is trying to nationalize election administration and to question the integrity of upcoming elections. And so they're trying to say, okay, this is the way that we're preparing.
You know, this is not popular with the voters. This is not popular with Republicans or Democrats. It's not a winning issue. And I'll tell you something I'm convinced of. That we think that if you allow mail-in voting, that will allow more Democrats to vote. I'm not sure that's the case. I think as we've way overthought this thing, that certain things will lead to more Democrats voting, and we do know that there's a hardcore group of conservatives who vote no matter what, and maybe they're thinking that the more difficult you make it to vote, the more likely is that hardcore group's going to show up. Well, the Democrats have their crazies too that will vote under any circumstance.
Look,
including myself. I mean, I'm going to go vote no matter what.
You have the ability to vote in person on the day of if you would like to. And so about 5% did that in Utah this last primary election cycle. But it is something that has been successful. And in Utah, what we know, we started doing vote by mail before the rest of the nation did, actually, especially for our rural counties. And it worked really well. And what we saw was it increased voter turnout. Did it increase Democratic voter turnout? Well, only in Salt Lake County, really, because a lot of Democrats are in Salt Lake County. But what that says is Republicans increased their turnout as well across the state.
I think what increases voter turnout is the notion that your vote counts. And Democrats in Utah this year will probably show up in numbers they haven't. But it's not because of mail-in voting. It's because we have a race that we could potentially win.
You actually have a viable candidate in one race.
Right, in one congressional district.
Congressional, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm looking at, this is a story from Utah News Dispatch, which they do some national stuff and some local stuff. But part of this story, they talked to Governor Cox, and the governor said that there's always been some issues with elections, but there's no evidence of anything coming close to major voter violations. And he said that he expects both Republican and Democratic secretaries of state or whoever is over elections to continue their long tradition of conducting elections with integrity.
I think people like myself are going to be sitting on the edge of their seat waiting to see what happens as we get closer and closer to the midterms. I mean, there's all kinds of things, and I don't blame any particular party or particular person, but there's mischief at hand with these elections, and I'm scared because we want people to vote. If we're getting 95% of people voting by mail, that's because it's convenient and it's secure and people are comfortable with it and we don't have problems. Let's make it as comfortable. I mean, elderly people like me who don't work in the city that they vote in and it don't, it's difficult to get to Weber County. It's from Salt Lake County when I work. And so voting by mail just makes perfect sense for me. Otherwise I'd have to, I'd work it out, but it's just so much more convenient when you can vote by mail.
And we do have ways that verify that the person to whom the ballot was sent is actually the person who's casting the ballot. And we do that in Utah in a couple of ways. One is signature verification. So you've got to sign the back and it needs to match the signature on your either voter ID or your driver's license. But we also now in Utah, you put down the last four numbers of your social security number just so that you can match that information if you need to. And I'll just tell you, we have seen very, very few people voting fraudulently in the state of Utah. Of the ones who have, they have largely been moms voting for their missionaries who are not in the state, not realizing that they actually cannot
You're not supposed
do that.
to do that. Yeah. I mean, there's no surrogacy
Right.
voting. But,
Right.
But I think some people would like to think that my son or daughter has a vote and has a voice, and I don't want them to lose that. So
And
I want to help them out.
That's why you get that those ballots are sent out about 4 weeks before the election, and so you can get them sent to your missionary child, and they can send it back. So look, there's also broader election concerns about, I guess, this idea that we're going to have one centralized database, because what do we talk about on the show all the time? Who runs elections because of the U.S. Constitution?
The states.
The states
Right.
run the Constitution or run the elections. And there are, if I remember the numbers correctly, more than 3,100 counties in the United States, and each county runs the election. Much, much harder to hack 3,100 databases than one centralized database.
Which you know would happen.
You know would happen.
If the feds took over and had, and besides that, it is the Constitution. It's not like somebody just made it up and thought it might be a great idea. The states, in the Constitution, states deal with this time, place, and manner of elections, especially federal elections.
Yeah. So just as we finish up, the Arizona Secretary of State said this should not be a partisan issue, and that's the hill I'm willing to die on. He said if states want to beef up election integrity, lawmakers should provide local election officials more funding rather than making it harder to vote.
Well, I'm glad that our president voted by mail. I think he set a good example, and we should all follow that and take advantage of voting by mail.
Yes.
Well, when we come back on Inside Sources, are there limits to religious freedom? That's
Nope.
kind of a loaded question.
We're switching. Yep, we've talked about women's issues today, including mental health, and so we're going to talk about women's leadership in Utah. So
I'm glad I work with you.
are
You're on top
pivoting.
of things. I'm a segment ahead.
No, you're all good. You're all good. Stay with us.
Morning.
Good morning. How's it going over there? You staying cool?
So, you gonna mow today?
Nope. The HOA does it.
Oh.
Imagine trading lawn chores for lemonade on the porch. That's Ovation Living.
For sure.
At Ovation Homes, they build homes designed for your next chapter, not your last.
Oh.
Single-level living with modern finishes and low-maintenance features, making everyday life easier and a lot more enjoyable. Designed for real life and real budgets. A fresh approach to active adult living in northern Utah. And during the Next Chapter event, you can receive $7,500 on select quick move-in homes or $10,000 on a new home build. Visit Sadie's Glen in Syracuse or online at ovationhomesutah.com. That's ovationhomesutah.com. Your best years really do start at Ovation Homes.
This is Andy Farnsworth with One Kind Act a Day's Minute of Kindness, brought to you by the Semnani Family Foundation. Do you have a teacher who you remember being kind? Utah held their Show Up for Teachers conference last month, as well as their gala to honor teachers across the state of Utah, nominated by those in their community for going above and beyond in their field to be a positive mentor to their students and a person in other people's lives. These teachers taught a variety of grade levels and subjects in different areas. When you have a teacher who stands out to you in your life, you can nominate them at showupforteachers.org. That is showupforteachers.org. You can also join the interest list for next year's event. Spread kindness to one of your teachers. Find further resources at thepowerofkind.org. That's thepowerofkind.org.
Pretty much every story we've talked about today and almost every day I include in my Utah Policy newsletter that I put together every weekday morning. You can get it too. You can get a list of the top local and national stories that really make an impact in your daily life and a little bit of fun because I include a dad joke every day. Just go to utahpolicy.com and hit the subscribe button.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-292-4541 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-292-4541. That's 800-292-4541. What do you have to lose? Call 800-292-4541. Again, 800-292-4541.
It is hard to believe, but it's time for back to school. Now, we still have some great summer ahead of us and all kinds of things at NPS to make the summer complete, especially for our kids. The fun toys for the outdoors, the great treats for the picnics, it's all waiting for you at NPS. But for just a moment, let's focus on back to school. You know, it is getting expensive. That's why we need NPS. To get our kids back to school, why not save the money? 20 to 70% each and every day on everything at the 4 NPS stores. And then, this is what makes it so much fun and really puts the adventure into shopping at NPS. You never know when you're going to find one of those deals that offers an additional 30, 40, 50% off. The NPS stores are located in Orem, in Layton, and the 2 stores in Salt Lake. NPS, it truly is a nice place to save.
If you're struggling with your mortgage, there's a free government program that offers expert one-on-one advice about your mortgage options. Call 1-888-995-HOPE or visit makinghomeaffordable.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Treasury, HUD, and the Ad Council.
Stolen Voices of Dole Valley. A gripping new podcast about a serial killer you've probably never heard of, Warren Forrest.
If he had dumped 2, you would have thought maybe there's another one.
But now a witness, identified in the podcast, could lead investigators to Jamie Grissom. Binge Stolen Voices of Dole Valley wherever you get your podcasts and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the latest breaking news in the case.
And expanded Inside Sources. Inside Sources.
Well, of course, study after study shows that when women are more involved in making decisions, communities prosper. Whether it's in government or business or anything else, there's data there.
There's so much. I love this topic because there's so much to talk about. But how can we better strengthen and promote women here in Utah, give them tools they need to be more successful, strengthen our own communities? And look, I just have to mention, Wallet Hub came out with their Women's Equality Survey for 2026. Guess where Utah is?
Last.
Number 50 again.
There we go. Well, the Women's Leadership Institute of Utah is going to do something about that. They recently changed their name to Seagull Leadership, and this is the exact kind of thing they hope to address. We're joined in the studio today by Jen Hunsaker, Director of Marketing and Communications for Seagull Leadership. Jen, thanks for being in studio with us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
So I just have to say that I was part of the Women's Leadership Institute first cohort for political training. Mm-hmm. And that was the year that Pat Jones kind of kicked off this whole thing. So that dates me probably, 11 years ago. So tell us about the metamorphosis, I guess, from going from WLI, Women's Leadership Institute, to now Seagull Leadership.
Yeah, I mean, it's important for us to emphasize, and even as we were going through this process of a rebrand, to making sure the mission did not change. We didn't want to make grand adjustments. Our focus is still on elevating women into positions of leadership and developing partnerships with in-state companies. That North Star will not change and has not in the last 11 years. The rebrand was mainly to make sure that our outfit, I guess we can say, matched the energy in the rooms that we were creating. Mm-hmm. There's a special vibe when 100+ women get into a room together. And we wanted our brand to really reflect that energy, like I said, and the strength of the women coming through. We wanted it to be something that they could self-identify with and really use as an emblem for them to move forward. And Women's Leadership Institute carried us so far. I mean, 11 years as a nonprofit is no small thing. And we needed a name, a brand that would carry us for another decade.
So, Jen, tell our listeners who may not know what the Women's Leadership Institute did and what SEGO Leadership is doing.
Absolutely. Thanks, Greg. We kind of attack this issue of women's leadership in two ways. One is to partner with companies in the Valley, and we have strong partnerships with a number throughout the state, with CHG Healthcare, Larry H. Miller Company. I am on air, so I'm going to blank on some really important names, Clyde Companies. And our goal with them, it started initially to help them develop programs to create pipelines, leadership pipelines for women, and to make sure that their workplace culture was more welcoming and easier for them to navigate. We know that women enter the workforce about the same rate as men, but they don't stay or promote as quickly as men, mainly due to family responsibilities, whether they're having their own or taking breaks to take care of other family. And in working with those companies, we noticed that many either don't have the time or the staff to then develop their own programs. So we thought, well, let's start doing that. It started with Political Development Series, Holly, which you experienced. And we've developed now 4 leadership-specific programs. Our political arm we have moved away from and have transferred to another organization, so that program is still alive and well, but we're focusing mainly on the business aspect of it and helping both companies and individual women to grow in their careers and in their impact.
So you have multiple programs, if I understand correctly.
Yes.
What are those programs, and how do women get involved with them if they want to?
We have the 4 programs I think really meet women at where they are, so capturing them at 4 major milestones in their career. SEGO Next, we've rebranded across all of our programs, which I'm excited about. So SEGO Next is for women who've taken a break, whether to have children, to, like I said, take care of family, and they're needing to get back into the workforce.
That's me.
And it's the story of lots of women. I took nearly 2 years off with my little babies before I got back into work. It's also for women who feel like they're underemployed. So they have the education that doesn't quite match their job. So they've taken maybe a part-time job that fits their work life, but now they're ready to really do what they've studied to do. Next is SEGO Rising, is for women who are new to leadership or who want to be a leader, and so it's building those leadership muscles and understanding what's going to be required of them as they apply for those jobs or are new to those positions. SEGO Leading is our premier program. We just graduated 150 women this year between Utah and Salt Lake counties, and that is for mid to senior level women. And it's a lot of refining, it's growing influence, it's helping them gain confidence and I think a surety in their own leadership style. And we're launching a brand new program this fall we're very excited about. It was based on research we've done for the past year, answering the question of what will it take to get women into the C-suite and hired as CEO. And you mentioned the Wallet Hub study. One of the major elements of that study that we think we can affect is the number of senior leaders. And the lower percentage you have, the lower your score is going to be in terms of like hospitality or is your state welcoming for women in the workplace. So this program was arranged to really affect that. We interviewed dozens of CEOs throughout the state and executive leaders to find out what is needed. So the skills women need to have or understanding. And from there, we developed our curriculum called SEGO Suite, and that launches this October.
Wow.
So what can we expect? I mean, Wallet Hub does this study every year, Jen, and I mean, I love where we've come in as a society, but where do we think we can still go in the next 5 or 10 years so that we see Utah rising up from near the bottom as it relates to women in leadership positions?
Yeah, and to be clear, the Wallet Hub study takes into account a lot of different things.
Sure.
Some I question how they got to that conclusion, right? In terms of, I think they look at like the pay per They look at pay between men and women, where women are more likely to take part-time jobs.
Right.
And so their pay is naturally going to be lower than a man's. And so that affects it as well. They don't bring in all the nuance. And so while it would be great to see us moving up the Walla Hub list, look, can we shoot for 48? Can we shoot for number 47? I think that we can. Importantly, we want to focus on, again, our own Utah metrics and making sure that women who are working here, that they feel supported, that they feel seen, that they feel like they can juggle all the things that we need to, and they have a support system. We have a lot of women that are, I lovingly call them transplants, that come from out of state to then work here. Do they feel welcome? Do they feel like they can succeed here? And as the general feeling in our community improves and as our impact grows, I mean, those are the things that we're after.
So how does somebody get involved with the program? Do they have to be nominated by their workplace? Can they nominate themselves? Do they apply? How does that look?
That's a great question. Depending on the program, it changes. So SEGO Next is an entry-level program, so that you just sign up and you register on your own. All of these programs you can find on our website, segoleadership.org. SEGO Rising is also generally self-nomination. Between SEGO Rising, SEGO Leading, and SEGO Suite, most of our participants are nominated by their companies. But we do have some that join on their own.
That's great.
It seems like there's some inroads that could be made, and maybe this is something you're not ready to talk about with respect to our high schools and colleges, so that when women come out and start entering the workplace, that they've got that edge, that they've got that understanding that, hey, you know, I can go ahead and progress. I mean, do you think that there's some ways that we can help that in Utah, how women are coming into the workforce?
Yeah. I mean, absolutely, we believe in you can't be what you can't see.
Right.
So part of it is creating visibility. So yes, we're going to help women kind of grow within their own careers, but we want to shine a spotlight on them. I mean, often we're contacted by event organizers looking for female panelists, keynote speakers, and they're hopefully now coming to us as a directory. We're putting one together actually that'll stay on our website. It's like, where are the women? How do I get them on stage? Well, here they are. Here's
awesome.
a big old list. And in creating visibility, then young women, especially those who are just starting out in college, not knowing what to study, they'll see a path forward. It's like, oh, she did this. Oh, and she did this with the family. She did this without a family. So it's creating visibility and then telling their stories so more people can believe that their dreams can also be achievable.
I have a quick question, and we really are out of time, but I have to ask you about the colors.
Yes.
Tell us about the colors.
Yes, we started out, again, honoring the SEGO lily. And within the flower itself, you have the delicate, the cream petals. We have this golden yellow and plum. And those are the color palettes we went with, and we didn't realize until moving forward and developing our story, oh, these are suffragette colors.
Yes, they are.
And we are calling in the ancestors on this one. Very much so a part of our brand was connecting our roots with the SEGO lily and with our history and the strong history we have here for women in leadership and our true north, and finding opportunities and creating better, more easier pathways to navigate for women to grow their careers and to find leadership positions.
Thanks, Jen. That was Jen Hunsaker, Director of Marketing and Communications for SEGO Leadership. When we come back, we're going to talk about domestic violence deaths. Yay. Stay with us.
30 at KSL News Radio, I'm Cameron Elliott. KSL's top national story this hour from ABC News. President Trump says the U.S. has no planned talks with Iran, but says the Strait of Hormuz is open and operating. ABC News White House correspondent Karen Travers has more.
Every time the president has brought this up, Iran has pushed back very strongly. This has been the sticking point going back to June when they tried to reach that deal to reopen the strait, and they continued to haggle over this. We heard a very forceful response from the Iranians just about the state of negotiations. They say the Strait of Hormuz will not open until the U.S. blockade is lifted, until the frozen assets are released, until they're able to sell oil again, and also they say until the threats and military options are off the table.
In a social media post, the president says the U.S. blockade there remains in full force in effect and that he could make the strait a U.S. territory. In other national news, Senator John Curtis is proposing a new idea to fight the affordable housing crisis, and it could also benefit the U.S. Postal Service. KSL News Radio's Brianna Willis reports.
Senator Curtis's new bill proposes leasing land owned by the United States Postal Service to build housing that could be rented out.
I gave a letter to the postman.
Curtis says the bill could help solve two different problems, providing more affordable housing to a nation struggling with low-cost options and bringing much-needed revenue to the USPS.
The Brookings Institute says many of these properties are already located in areas where the demand for new housing is high and could bring in over $2 billion for the Postal Service. Taking a look at your money at this moment, we have red across the board. The NASDAQ is down 302 points. That's a little over 1%. The S&P 500 is down 41 points. That's a little over 0.5%. And oil is up 41 cents, bringing it to $84.91 a barrel. Coming up, 100-degree weather isn't done with us. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 11:32.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
I'm really interested to hear about how your parents talk to you at home, and how do you think they can kind of break through to you?
It's just to talk about it. It's just seriously it's going to be awkward at first. But if you keep repeating it over and over again, it's just going to feel natural.
Keep going, and soon we'll just be able to talk about it.
Talking about mental health with your teens is the power of we in action. Visit intermountainhealth.org/teen mental health.
I'm not one to say I told you so, but I switched to Pure Talk over a year ago, and ever since I've been telling people there's no better wireless company out there. Well, a few months ago, a massive survey was conducted. 123,000 people were asked to rate their wireless carrier in 4 categories: coverage, support, data, and overall value. Well, the results are in. Guess which wireless company was the only wireless company to get 5 stars in every category? Yeah, Pure Talk. 5 stars, every category. To celebrate, Pure Talk is offering the first 3 months of any plan for just $15 a month, including their top-tier unlimited plan. No contract, no commitment, just a very inexpensive way to test drive the only American wireless company with 5 stars in every category. Just dial pound 250, say micro, and Pure Talk's U.S. customer service will take it from there. Again, pound 250 micro. And yes, I told you so.
Hey Utah, have you heard? Nuclear energy might be coming to our state. Now, before your brain jumps straight into sci-fi movies, let's talk about what nuclear actually does. Nuclear technology helps power our nation's submarines, supports life-saving cancer treatments, and produces reliable electricity for millions of homes. That said, nuclear power also comes with some common misconceptions. Don't worry, we get it. Here's a fun fact. You're exposed to more radiation eating bananas than you are living near a nuclear power plant. And get this, a lifetime supply of nuclear energy fits into a single soda can. Despite what some people believe, nuclear energy is safe, clean, and incredibly efficient. But don't just take my word for it. Energy decisions matter, and Utahns deserve the facts. Learn more about nuclear and what it can mean for you. Visit energy.utah.gov/nuclear.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. Learn how to save more this summer at uccu.com. Here's Cormac Bone.
I-15 looking clean and clear between Ogden and Provo, both directions, and I-80. Also no major accidents or delays from Tooele County over to Summit County. Where we do have slowdowns is in the usual places. Eastbound 2100 north in Lehigh, especially slow at 2300 west. And we do have regular delays on the 201 freeway in Magna, light in both directions from 8400 west to 7200 west. I'm Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
Today is going to be partly cloudy with highs in the lower 90s. Tomorrow, much of the same, but this weekend we've got a chance of thunderstorms. Right now, though, it's 88 degrees and mostly cloudy in downtown Salt Lake City. I'm Cameron Elliott from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
You know, I'm happy that we have had some lighter topics today, including back-to-school anxiety and women's leadership, because a lot of our stories today haven't been as happy. And this one is one of those. When it comes to domestic violence, people are asking, are we counting the deaths correctly? And around the country, families are pushing states for more scrutiny when it comes to deaths caused by domestic violence.
And actually, a lot of families who believe that their loved one's death, which was originally ruled as a suicide or an accident, law enforcement, they're claiming, may have ignored the role of domestic violence that may have had something to do with that death. And families are saying, maybe we ought to take a second look at it.
So we had a case like that in Utah. In fact, I remember talking about it on our show, and this was in July, that there was actually a sentencing, if I remember correctly. Yeah, the boyfriend. So it was about 2 years ago, more than 2 years ago, that a 20-year-old died after her boyfriend was encouraged her to take her own life, yelled at her, left a loaded handgun in the room, then walked away.
Her.
Yeah, totally bullied. I mean, it just was really bad. And she did take her own life. And now he is going to jail for... it was almost 5 years ago that she died, but he's going to go to jail. He pled guilty to a third-degree felony count of manslaughter. So what's interesting to me is this story now that I saw in Utah News Dispatch. They call it hidden homicides. And families are saying, hey, look, I don't think she would have killed herself. Or, hey, look, she, in fact, one of the examples in the story is somebody who had, I think, initiated a call on a domestic violence, and then less than a week later, she was dead.
Yeah. So you probably remember several years ago, Utah and other states developed these domestic violence protocols where officers show up at a scene where there's alleged to be domestic violence, and they will take each party aside and go through this whole conversation and this and
the lap, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. And get this information. Well, some states are asking law enforcement to do the same thing. It's trying to analogize it a little bit, when they respond to what looks to be maybe a suicide or an accidental death. And California is the first state to do it. It was their Senate Bill 989, which took effect last year. The law requires, get this, police officers in certain cases to interview family members before determining the manner and cause of death, and allow families to request a complete autopsy when specific indicators of domestic violence are present, because family members know. They would, like, you can imagine somebody's sister saying, I know her, she did not kill herself. It's not something she would have done. She was pushed into that, and I'd like you to investigate it. Of course, law enforcement's going, well, look, we got the gun, it's in her hand. What do you want us to do? I mean, but I applaud this. 5 other states, Illinois, Massachusetts, Minnesota, New York, and Oregon, have considered the legislation, but it's been hung up with their local legislators. And I think that this is something that we could look at nationwide.
I think so too. And one of the reasons is, it's not directly related, but kind of, right? Looking at extenuating circumstances, we've talked about the Lindsay Clancy case, and that's not a case of domestic violence. But what I'm saying is, sometimes there are situations where you say, hey, wait, I don't think that's right. I think you need to look further. And I'm seeing it in other cases around the country in maybe where, again, not necessarily domestic violence, but where the death is under suspicious circumstances. So, for example, there seem to be lynchings that have happened across the United States where Black people are found hanging in trees. They've been ruled suicides. Their families are saying there's no way.
There's no way, right?
There's no way, right? I think in a similar situation, if you had something like this where a family could say just what you said, that is not a thing, that did not happen, I can't believe that she would have done that. Look, she just barely filed for a restraining order against her ex, right? Or her, husband, not even an ex yet. I guess that's worth considering.
Yeah, and in somewhat related, although not exactly, the whole Corey Richins case, when Eric Richins was found, it was like, oh, another drug overdose, and the family's like, no,
exactly,
no, that's not what happened, and they actually hired a private investigator and said, we're not giving this up, and the police got involved thanks to that and put a case together, and she was convicted of a homicide.
And I'll give you another example, because this happened in my very neighborhood, and that was Martin McNeil. He killed his wife. The doctor, right? And it was ruled an accidental overdose at first, and it was their daughter, who was just absolutely dogged in saying this was not accidental. And in the end, she was right, and they were able to prove it in court.
Yeah, that was a trial that people thought, which way is this going? Because he's a nice, good-looking doctor. I mean, he did it.
He was charming and manipulative, but a psychopath.
And then he brought his girlfriend in.
That was a horrible story, right? But he had been emotionally abusive to his wife for a really long time, and it was his daughter who said. In fact,
his daughter and her. I mean,
their daughter, who said. I think if I remember correctly, Michelle had said, "If I die, your dad did it." And she died, and the daughter's like, I'm going to pursue this. And for a long time, it was hard for her to get people to listen to her. Yeah. So I think that one applies directly. So does the Corey Richins case.
Yeah, a doctor who thought he committed the perfect murder, and it turns out that after a lot of really difficult research and investigation, it came out the other way. But to their credit, a lot of groups, domestic violence groups, and law enforcement victims advocates are saying maybe we should take a second look at some of these homicides or some of these alleged suicides and accidents and look to whether or not it is a homicide. Now, I'll say this. It's still the two cases we talked about were very difficult prosecutions. The prosecution won in both cases, but they weren't easy cases. They weren't slam dunks.
Sure.
And both the defendants were saying, we're taking this all the way. We're going as far as we can. We have our producer, Andy Cupp, in studio. We must have some breaking news.
Yeah, we just got some more information on the victim who was killed at the Kearns funeral shooting yesterday. Police have just identified him, and I apologize for the name, as Vilasoni Angelau, an 18-year-old male. They say another 18-year-old male is currently in critical condition, and then a 17-year-old male is also in critical condition, and they say he is a suspect. And those are all separate from the 45-year-old who we talked about at the beginning of the show who had been arrested. They also are letting us know that it seems like it started as a dispute between two families at the very beginning. So we still don't have any actual cause or motivation for this, but they haven't released the names or the identities of the other victim or the suspect at this time. But yes, we have identified, or they have identified, the deceased as 18-year-old Vilasoni Angelau.
Yeah, and it does seem that from the probable cause statement that the man who is in custody may be the father of the 17-year-old who's hurt. We'll get more information on that. Thanks, Andy. When we come back on Inside Sources, pack it in and pack it out. We want to finish our show on a lighter story about how Utah hikers are coming together to clean up the great outdoors. Great idea.
Join me on the trip of a lifetime, an 8-day enchanting Rhine River cruise, August 7th through the 14th, 2027, so a year from August, aboard the elegant Amafiora, sailing from Basel, Switzerland to Amsterdam. We will cruise through the heart of Europe, past medieval castles, vineyard-covered hillsides, and storybook villages in France, Germany, and the Netherlands. And Morris Columbus Travel planned every single detail, so we just show up and enjoy ourselves. We're talking gourmet dining, licensed local guides at every port, a Morris Columbus tour manager right there on board, and exclusive pricing with savings of thousands off brochure rates. They've reserved just 50 cabins for our group, and I will be there for Q&A sessions and just to spend time together. This is a bucket list journey for me, and I hope you'll join me. Book in one click at morriscolumbus.com/KSL or call a Morris Columbus advisor at 800-999-4646. Optional pre-cruise Switzerland and post-cruise Amsterdam tours available too. Come see Europe with me. I can't wait.
Morris Columbus.
More than 50 million Americans suffer from a form of mental illness.
And Utah isn't immune, with nearly 1 in 3 people dealing with anxiety, depression, or another form of mental illness.
But there's hope. we can all take action to keep ourselves and our loved ones safe.
That's why KSL has teamed with the Huntsman Mental Health Foundation to bring you hope and help you thrive.
It's Healthy Mind Matters.
Find out more at healthymindmatters.com.
I want to extend an invitation to stop hiding in the back of photos. I know what that feels like. How long can you hold your breath for the photo before you finally have to let it out?
Yeah.
You don't have to do that anymore once you go through Soda Diet and Nutrition, because they will change how you look. I let go of 70 pounds in 5 months.
And I let go of 37 pounds in 3 months. And I remember when I was heavy, I used to wear jackets even in 100 degrees in the summer because I wanted something to cover my waist. Do you know how fun it is to be able to tuck a T-shirt in? This is the simple things in life. Tucking a shirt, wearing shorts, and not feeling, self-conscious is awesome.
Putting a belt on that goes right below your belly button where it's supposed to go?
Yeah.
I didn't know that was possible. And then it was because of Soda Diet and Nutrition.
Right now, you can get 4 weeks for free by calling 866-800-SODA and just mentioning KSL.
But the time's running out to take advantage of this, so call 866-800-SODA, mention KSL, and get 4 weeks free because Soda is, say it with me, Amanda, state of the art.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-292-4541 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-292-4541. That's 800-292-4541. What do you have to lose? Call 800-292-4541. Again, 800-292-4541.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. Small businesses are the backbone of Utah's economy, creating jobs, strengthening neighborhoods, and turning great ideas into thriving companies. Helping those businesses succeed is a mission America First Credit Union takes seriously. Vice President of Business Development, Kimberly Green, joins us with more.
Every business owner has a different story, but one thing they all have in common is the need for a financial partner they can trust. At America First Credit Union, we help businesses at every stage, from startup to scale up. As one of the region's top SBA lenders, our experienced business team provides financing, expert guidance, and practical solutions that help owners spend less time managing their finances and more time growing their business. When local businesses succeed, our communities benefit too. That's why we're proud to support the places we call home through charitable giving, volunteer service, and partnerships that help families and nonprofits across the state. We're honored to serve more than 100,000 business members and look forward to helping even more entrepreneurs build what's next. Together, we're strengthening local businesses, creating opportunities for future growth, and helping Utah's economy thrive for generations to come.
Whether you're launching a new venture or planning your next phase of growth, America First Credit Union is ready to help. Learn more at americafirst.com. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
Property managers. Customers judge your property in the time it takes to park. Don't fail that test. Seal coating, crack sealing, striping, and patching. Visit gopavutah.com.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources.
You ever go hiking on Utah's trails, and while you're out there, you walk by a tin can that's on the trail or a smashed cigarette butt or something like that and think,
dog poop in a bag?
What should I do with this?
So look, you're supposed to pick it up. You're supposed to clean up after yourselves if you take it in. So my husband used to do leave no trace, which is just what it sounds like, right? Take only pictures, leave only footprints. But we know not everybody does that. And we know this because a local hiker just lugged loads of other people's garbage off of Mount Timpanogos.
And I think this is a great idea. And I'll tell you my own personal motto when I'm hiking, and was hiking with my wife this weekend. It's not just clean up after yourself, but leave the place better than when you got there. Yeah. And my wife like we were hiking this weekend and she's picking up cans. I'm like,
Yeah.
what are you doing?
Yeah.
Well, I realize what she's doing, and
Yeah.
it's a perfect thing to do.
Yeah.
And you can't criticize it because people just leave them there. Make it better. When you leave, it's prettier than when you got there.
When we went camping the end of July, we were right by the trailhead for Timpanogos, and seriously, people would pick up their dog poop, put it in a bag, and then just leave it on the parking lot. It's like, why would you do that? I don't understand that. But my daughter, in fact, our own meteorologist, they both hiked this weekend, not together. My daughter went on Friday and Matt went on Saturday up Mountain Timpanogos. And I didn't ask my daughter if she cleaned up other people's trash, but she did tell me they had to wait like 40 minutes to use a bathroom. But when you're going up, I just don't understand, I guess, the thought process behind like dropping your trash as you hike. I don't understand that.
Yeah, and it happens just far too often. I mean, when I'm mountain biking, of course, I always use that as an excuse to not pick up trash because I'm on my bike. But
Yeah.
I've started carrying a little bag,
Mhm.
a little fanny pack that I can fill with junk, and I do. I still stop.
Yeah.
If you ride by it, you get a few feet past it, and you think, "Come on,
No,
what's
so-
the worst that can happen? I'm going to stop and pick it up."
So this is a KSL story about Melissa Coles, and one of the things Melissa says is this is some of the stuff that she's found: a Costco-sized Skippy peanut butter jar, bigger bike-sized water bottles, 2 huge water jugs, 3 pairs of socks, a Tupperware container, a giant goldfish cracker bag, more bottles, more cans. She needs to bring gloves because there's also feminine products that have
Yeah.
been found.
And beer cans.
Micro
that
trash.
smell bad. Right.
Right. I mean, come on.
Right.
That's so gross.
I found a lot of tools that
Really?
people have. Yeah.
Really?
like,
That's interesting.
Especially bicyclists, because you have those little
And you
things to
just
help you
drop them?
Well, they lose them. They
Oh, okay.
they don't think about it, and they're changing a tire, and they'll leave the old tube there, which is disgusting, and then they'll also leave the tools that they use to get the tube apart, which is foolish. I'm sure they didn't mean to do that, but I'll pick that up.
Well, thanks to our trash picker uppers and
good for
everybody
Melissa
can do
Coles.
that.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. All right, today's fun fact today is National Fajita Day. So I love fajitas, and we might do that for dinner. We'll see. So it is, what day is it? It is, it's not October.
August 18th.
I'm only wishing.
Yes.
It's August 18th. So it was on this day in 1587, just days after landing at Roanoke Island, that Eleanor Dare gave birth to the first English child born in the Americas. What do you think they named the baby? Where did they land?
Virginia.
They named the baby
Okay,
Virginia.
yes, okay.
But here's what's interesting is 3 years later on this same day, so the baby would have been 3 years old on that day, the Roanoke colony was found deserted. It's so interesting. So the governor came back from a supply trip to England to find no trace of the 100 or so colonists that he left behind. There was also no sign of violence. The people who were missing, Eleanor Dare, who was the governor's daughter, Virginia Dare, the granddaughter we just talked about. And what's so interesting is if you go look online, they have not found the colony. They found a few things where every once in a while they'll say, oh, well, maybe this is something. They found one word on a stone, and it was...
Help.
No, it wasn't. It was one about, I think, a local tribe, a local Native American tribe. But they haven't found evidence that they assimilated. They haven't found evidence that they all died. It's just really interesting.
I vaguely remember that, and I was just joking about the help thing, but that was interesting.
Yeah. So it was on this day in 1872. This is funny because this will date us. Aaron Montgomery Ward, recognize that name? Montgomery Ward, produced a mail order catalog. It would launch an era of mail order publications that would last more than 100 years.
I used to
Montgomery
love
Ward.
getting those.
I know.
Sears or whoever it
So
was.
Sears-
I would just go through it and look at all the cool things.
The Sears
computers.
catalog for Christmas is the one I really remember.
Yeah.
But Montgomery Ward was a well-known institution back in the day.
I used to look at the stereo stuff.
All right, I've got another one.
Good.
This is in 1920. Now, I have to tell you the story. Harry T. Byrne. Harry T. Byrne was a young legislator in Tennessee, and they were trying to pass, they were trying to get the 2/3 of the states to ratify women's suffrage, the 19th Amendment. They got to Tennessee. It was the last state. All of the other states were, they already knew how they were going to vote, and the remaining ones were against ratification. So what they had done in the Tennessee legislature is they handed out roses, and if you wore a yellow rose, you were pro-suffrage, pro-19th Amendment. If you wore a red rose, you were opposed. Harry wore a red rose. But Harry got a letter from his mom, and his mom said, be a good boy and do the right thing. Harry changed his vote from no to yes. It passed by one vote, and it was ratified. That was the literally ratified women's suffrage in 1920 by Harry's only singular vote. He was so worried about the response of flipping his vote that he left out an attic window. So that is my really fun fact of the day. It was officially certified on August 26th, but today is the day that we finally hit the 2/3 of the states for women to be able to vote in this country.
Well, I'm glad that you ended with Harry's mom, because I want to start there and talk about what we talked about today, because there were a lot of things that we mentioned that maybe aren't the funnest and most exciting things, but there's a theme today, and it ended with Harry's mom. We talked about this trial that's going on with the postpartum depression, psychosis. And we had a very interesting conversation with Sarah Hanchett, the LCSW of Evolved MD, who talked to us about that and how women go through issues and suffering in ways that we don't appreciate. And you think about what their bodies and their minds and what had gone through, of course they're going to have some issues. And you understood that and appreciated that. I'm looking at it from the strictly legal perspective, and you know, it educated me. Then we had Kim Narupi in. She's the owner of Duke's Jewelers. Mm-hmm. She's the owner, fourth generation owner, and she was so excited to talk about her business and what they're doing there. I'm going to go visit it, and I was just so impressed with her. Then we had Jen Hunsaker come in, talk to us about what was the Women's Leadership Institute, now the SEGO leadership, and just how excited she was about women's issues and leadership issues and things like that. We even talked about hidden homicides. Hey, wait a minute. We should look at things in domestic violence situations and not just treat situations where we come upon a woman who's died and is an abusive relationship and just call it a homicide or a suicide. So I think there was a theme, and hopefully you picked up on it by now, that we did today that I thought was just fun and so good. And you know, the only bad thing was we're still in last place with the polls. But even Jen had a good explanation for that. Women's salaries don't always meet men's because some women want to work part-time. So maybe we take that into account. Maybe we're not doing as badly as I think. We've got a lot to do. We've got a lot to gain. I was excited today to focus, and we ended with Harry's mom, with women who have done so much and have helped our community so much and helped our legal, medical, professional, and other situations. And I couldn't be more proud.
Well,